We're live.
We're live.
Whew.
Reilly's back.
I'm back. Thank you for having me, buddy. Oh. Yeah, the last time I was here, I think it was Andy. Cheers.
Oh yeah.
I tried to contribute to that conversation, but he's just he's on a different level than I am.
It was kind of, I warned you, but yeah.
No, I mean, it was
I
it was interesting.
Oh, yeah.
I liked listening to him talk. I just
Interesting.
didn't feel my simple mind could contribute much to that very intellectual conversation.
Random notes. Yeah.
Random notes.
Well, last week, we were going to do, I guess start with you. You're
Oh,
married now or something?
I am engaged.
Yay.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I
How
appreciate
old are
it.
you, 22?
22 years.
Well, I was 24, and it seemed right at the time. In retrospect, it seemed young.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. How long were you dating Vesna before you?
2 months.
Oh, yeah, see, I'm almost 2 years into it, so.
Yeah, well, we were like 2 months, and we're like, we should probably get married. You know, it seemed like the thing to do.
Yeah.
So there was no, there's no question about it. It was like we just kind of knew. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. No, it was nice. Went up to Fairbanks. Did it right there by the river. It was nice.
Oh, like a proposal?
Yeah, the proposal.
Oh, you planned it all out?
I mean, I knew I
She
wanted.
didn't know.
No, she actually kind of knew I was gonna do it. So I got a sweet payment plan thing on the ring, but I was an idiot. I forgot to have them send the mail to the office, so they sent all the paperwork about the ring like 10 days in advance, like to our house. So she had her suspicions.
Oh, gosh, no,
Yeah.
she saw the ring.
She didn't see the ring.
Yeah, sorry,
She didn't
saw
see the ring.
paperwork.
She just saw a bunch of stuff from the jewelry store.
Yeah, gave it away.
But no, it was nice.
That's fun.
Well, thank you. I have to meet her at some point.
What else? Oh, yeah, and your legs are all busted up.
Yeah, so training for this guy's half marathon, I gave myself stress fractures in both my ankles.
Crazy. I kind of want to see your high arches you were talking about. Oh, yeah. It does look like it is pretty high arch.
I don't know if y'all can tell on the camera.
But definitely.
So, and upon further investigation, realized that the shoes I have 0 arch support. I thought they did. They have the memory foam thing in it, but they don't have any.
So I always thought, I don't know, I guess my feet are kind of normal, because I know there's like flat feet, it's bad for running.
Yeah.
And then like, I guess high arches is bad too.
Yeah, really high arches can be bad. So,
because Vesna's ankles, the kids both got like Vesna's feet, which are kind of messed up, basically. Like, because she's got like flat arches and then like bunions, like the big toes kind of lumped over, and she had actually did bunion surgery, like
really?
in the foot here or whatever. And
Rosie and I
it's interesting to see the genetic, like, oh, that foot's shaped like, it has a shape.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you guys have the same foot. And anyway, my feet. My feet, I'm lucky in that regard, because I do abuse myself, but I think I'm just lucky genetically to have the...
I know we're lucky, because doing the stuff we do growing up, you just abuse the shit out of your feet, like with running and skiing and biking. Well, I guess not so much biking, but...
Yeah, it was a bummer, though, because I was excited, because I wasn't technically coaching, and I'm glad. And it was funny, I was thinking about, because I have talked about doing, like, coaching.
Yeah.
I'm not a coach, and I've actually thought about it. I'm like, age 40, should I go back to school, like, and get like, some 2-year sports physio degree, you know, like nutrition, just something to qualify yourself to tell people what to do. And just because I like it, I'm doing it to myself. But that's the thing, I'm only, literally, I was excited to go running with you this weekend last weekend.
I was excited too.
Because I don't go running with anyone, ever, never. Like, I literally run with people in races, and that's it. Like, for the, I don't know, 3,000 miles I've been the last couple of years, all by myself, or with a dog. Having the dog was the biggest, like, whoa.
That's nice.
A dog, I can talk to them.
Well, you would have been running with, you're much, much, much faster than I am.
I was going to go slow, I was prepared. It was going to be fun, because I was going to film it, and we were going to go, and I wanted to go run the whole section of the course, because I've yet to do it, you know. But it's fun, the tactics of a race. Like, for this race, I guess I'll talk about it anyway.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's just fun to think of the tactics, you know, so I've done the last 2 years. It's a full marathon, but then last year they offered a half marathon, but I still did the full.
Yeah.
And because I'd done it the year before I got like 4th. It's like 4 hours, 15 minutes, whatever, blah, blah, you know, just X amount of effort. But I know in the tactics of that race, I went out hard. And that's the thing about marathons, you easily can go too hard.
Yeah.
It's so long, you're going into actual glycogen stock. You're running out of sugar in your body.
You literally don't have enough shit in your body to keep
so
going.
you have to eat properly. You have to eat like just enough to like give yourself sugar but not overdo it. So you're fucking up your system. And that's the art of that and by itself. And anyway, so the first year I had been training a bunch for that Alaska man, so I was over ambitious basically, and like charged out. and led the race on my own, complete on my own to mile 20. Like, out in the boonies. I had no idea how far ahead of everyone I was. And I was not cranked, overall, super slow, like 8-minute miles, 9-minute miles, 10-minute miles. Like, you're going slow. But it's up, down, left, right. Super technical, jumping over logs sort of stuff. But it was so scary, like, the feeling. And my plan of nutrition was to, like, I had a couple little chew things, but I didn't bring water. I think the first year I was just going to drink from streams, because there's enough little streams and I drink from all the time that I know they're good, I'm not getting sick or anything. And but being in the lead, I had the feeling of like being chased by wolves,
Yeah.
Like, oh God, like I gotta go. I have no idea. Like, I didn't want to stop to like actually take a break. And then I just remember the feeling going. So it went way around the valley, this way, that way. Mile 20 was like way at the back, halfway back to Berry Pass. But I didn't know where the turnaround was exactly, and I never went just the unknown distance,
Yeah.
Like, how far is this thing? Did I miss the turnaround? As I was bonking, as I was like in the middle of nowhere, like, where is it? And I'm just like dying, like losing all my momentum, because I felt good, obviously, to that point, but everything was just like, it's like it pulls a string out, and you're like, I'm fucking done. And boom, the dude caught me right at the turnaround, and it looked like he was doing good. I was like, oh man, he's going fast. Like, he might have been just basically going the same speed all along,
Sure
basically.
he was, yeah.
And I was going too fast, and I bumped. It's exactly what it was. And he passed me. So then there was a long return on this trail, which is the first time you can see where people are, right? So you're going back and you can time it. You see my turnaround was at 3 hours. I hit this guy 3 hour 5. I know I'm 10 minutes ahead of him.
Yeah.
Is that how that works? Or 5 minutes ahead of him?
You'd be fine. You'd be fine.
Yeah, he's going to be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, but then by the time he's there, you're 5 minutes that way. So now you know you're 10 ahead of him. So you're doing these calculations on people. It's like, oh, like, so I was like, fell in a second, coming halfway back, and the guy in third caught me. I was like, oh man. And the guy in fourth I knew was back there, and he, but so this is like mile 21, 22, 23, and I'm just like dying because I'm trying to get third now. Like your race changes from like I'm doing this, doing that. Like, okay, and coming back, you're coming out and you're so tired. Then you've still got to do the whole 5K loop on the Nordic, which is like rolly long. It has its own thing going on. And as I'm doing that, these loops kind of back on themselves, and I could see the dude chasing me. I'm like, there he is. And I knew he was getting closer, slowly reeling me in. And I was like, fuck. And I'm going, I'm like dying, death's door. And the last climb, you come up chair 7 and then down to chair 3 to the finish, day lodge. And I'm like halfway up 7, and that's a wide open stretch. And you can see like all these distances now. And I'm like halfway up 7, and I see him coming out of the woods way back by the trailhead. I'm like, oh shit. But my legs, it was the first time ever they were full like C's mode. Like both hamstrings, double C's. Like I'm halfway up, and I fell into like zombie. I felt like I was like Frankenstein.
Yeah?
I was like,
It's like all lock-legged.
Oh, like total like ground me to halt. Couldn't walk. I was like, boom, like that. It was just that's just what happened. But then that's right when he caught me, and I like, got it back together, and I kept going. It was like a 10-second ordeal.
Yeah.
But I'm done already at this point. And I get up the hill, and you come across the top of flat of 7. He's way ahead. He basically was sprinting, and I was like, now I just gotta hold fourth. But and I was ahead of fourth by long enough for the next one that it wasn't, Anyway, brutal. Went home, and I think I sharded after somehow. I was like full on like badness. Why am I doing this? So that was 2 years ago.
Damn.
I'm just having these memories. Second year, last year, I thought I'd be smarter. So I was like, don't. I just gave you COVID.
Sure, Bond. We have it, dude. It's fine.
I was like, don't just sprint out on your own. Like,
Pace yourself.
keep it paced. Yeah, it's just easy. So then we go out, and on this one, so there's a half that takes off. So as we take off, half the people in the crowd are doing the half, so they're going faster.
Just doing the half.
Yeah, they're doing the half marathon.
Okay.
Meanwhile, so you gotta like, those guys are taking off. Okay, they're doing half. Ignore them. And then as the crowd kind of gets out, then you see who's around you. Like first mile and a half sort of thing. And it's just me and this other dude. I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, so it was kind of funny. It was his first race, so it was this funny, different experience. And then I was running right with someone. And I was even telling him we were just bullshitting. It was fun because we're like both know we're on this epic fucking thing.
Yeah.
We're only miles 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. But I was like giving him beta on the hills. I'm like, okay, we got the Nordic loop. As I'm giving him the beta, I'm like, who the fuck cares? But I'm more talking to myself, and just like making conversation.
Oh yeah, just shoot.
I'm like, climbing the hill, we're doing this, we're doing that. He's like, okay, cool. And it was like a fun thing. And we go back and we're staying together, and it was like perfect, easy pace. Get to the turnaround. But this, so get this, they switched the route, the direction. every other year, you know. So this year you're going out to that turnaround first. Early. So we go out to the turnaround. We thought we were moving, but comfortable because we keep talking about it. We're like, are we going too fast? We were having this running discussion, like, fuck, are we going? Like, no, I feel good. Like, okay, we were kind of working together. And on the turnaround, we're like, fuck, we probably be doing pretty good. And boom, second, third, we're like 2 minutes back, 3 minutes back, like really close. Like, oh, that's way close. And we're both like, wow, they're really close. If we're moving fast, you kind of that feeling now of like, whoa. So we go. Now you go diving all the way out Berry Pass down to the hand tram, the hand tram. Then that's a turnaround. Then you come back up the hill, back out to the hotel. So we're diving down. Now we're like, well, we got to pick up the pace a little, and it's kind of a long downhill. So we're picking up the pace, and we get down to and that's like mile 9, and right at the hand tram, you got to turn around, and I had a little mini bonk as we're coming back up out those hills, you know. And dude, that's where he just ghosted me. We were together the whole time, and then all of a sudden he's just like, oh, gone on his arm. Like, oh, he's gone. You know, your like, relationship's now broken. Yeah, totally. He's up, gone. And I was like, fuck, and I got up the hill. And then it's kind of a chargy downhill. Not chargy, but like all the way back to the hotel. I was like rolling fast, real good. Oh, I gotta keep this together. Downhill. Like, keep it together. Like, and then I'd come out of the woods. I could see him. So I came out of the woods, across the bottom of Chair 7, and it juked up to the shop road, and I could see him into the shop road. So he's like quarter mile up. And I was like, ooh, and I was like, okay. And then I come and I catch and I get all the way to Day Lodge, and I come out from the Day Lodge tee, and I can see him like, I'm like coming right down the tee, and he's like almost in front of the brewery, sort of, right?
Oh, okay.
So I can see him, like, there he is. So down. And then I had to piss down it. So epic recollecting these, like, it's fun. They're fucking epic adventures.
Well, yeah. It's like an ordeal.
You go down through downtown by the school, like there's that little river trail. It was the school. And I remember having to piss, and I was like, ooh, I'm starting to feel bonky. Like, it's a bad feeling.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of the shakes, like, oh shit, like something that's not good. So you go by the school, cross the river, come out of Crow Creek, then you go up California Creek. Like, I mean, do you know those trails at all? It goes up California, kind of up in there.
Yeah.
It's steep.
Yeah.
It's technical, gnarly. There's a loop back there. And I'm going, and I'm like bonking, like climbing, like, ooh, feeling like, it wasn't just the legs are tired. Now there's no gas in the engine feeling. Because, it's your aerobic leg capacity up until an hour and a half. Then it's like fuel. Yeah. And I was like full bond. Like, ooh, this doesn't feel good. You get almost like, you almost want to cry. Like that, the emotional, like, oh God. Like, because the fear's still kind of driving you. Like, oh, why am I doing this? I'm in such horrible fucking pain to run from these imaginary things. And then that's when, that dude was already gone. And then like second, third were some girls. One girl from Seward, and then another one, they're like mid-30s, whatever. No, one was like mid-20s, like younger. And they were kind of together, and they caught me on the hill, and I was like, oh, fuck. Like, and they were moving all steady, and I'm like bonk mode. And then you go back, and it's technical, then it's kind of coming out, and, whew, so what was I holding? I was 4th, so I'm holding 4th now. You gotta go all the way down Beaver Pond Trail, come back the trail, then up the river trail back to the Day Lodge at that point. So, probably coming all the way out Beaver, like kind of, just holding it together, going, that's all you can do.
Trying to get through it, basically.
Trying to get through it, like, and then dude passes me. Now I'm in 5th, and I remember him like, how you doing? I'm like, oh, just bonking, like, because I'm like, just whatever. Yeah. And he goes, and then boom, he's gone, and then he popped out. Then I had the most amazing. So that's like mile 22. Pop out, basically down. There's 4 miles back or so, and I could see him. He was far ahead, and over a quarter mile, but I managed to do this last minute, like bonk recovery. I had an epic good bonk recovery, and I was able to pick up the pace. I was like doing the 8:15s, 8:30s, and motoring, and caught him, and he was full bonk now. Yeah. And he's like, oh, good recovery. And I was motoring, and he was like done, because we're like a mile out, and I held the kick all the way through, but like there was the window, where the first race, it was death to the end, dead. Yep. Where this one, I had like a mid-race thing, and anyway.
Able to get some adrenaline or whatever.
Babbling.
Get you through. No, you're not babbling at all. What do you contribute to the bonk, like recovery? Is it adrenaline? Is it just sort of just like...
Recovery?
Well, yeah, you said you get the bonk.
Within the race.
Yeah, like what do you...
I slowed down and just started drinking more water, taking the time to actually take in water. Oh, okay. And then some gels and like absorb it, and it takes like 10 minutes to kind of get...
So there's actually things, it's not just like gritting through it, it's actually...
Yeah, I actually was like, drink some of this water, like, because there's so many of these little micro perfect streams, they're so good, and you go by so many of them, and I know them all. I'm like, oh, there's a good one. I'll wait for that stream. I'll get water. And then actually, so the second year I had a little water thing you could run with. The first year I had nothing. This next year I had a water thing, And that's what it was. I had run out of it, and I took the time to refill it up. And then that's the thing, you can over drink water because you're sweating so much, but you're not replenishing the salts if you over drink water. So you got to throw in like salt pills or electrolyte. So it's like a Kool-Aid sort of thing. But it just gives you back your sugars and salt.
Interesting.
Picks it back up.
Picks it back up.
Anyway, point being, this is the half marathon, and I'm excited to do it because it's way shorter. And
only 13 miles.
Yeah, and the time limit, you're not reaching at sugar bong levels. It's more fast. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, just like tough it out.
Yeah, you can tough it out, but your body still has fuel, but your legs and lungs are like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Where the longer game, your legs and lungs are like, oh, we got this, but then you just stop giving them gas.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the difference of the pacing. Where like a 5K...
5K is more or less just like a sprint. Well, not really.
Yeah, in retrospect, 5K literally is a sprint, except
well,
all this long game stuff. You know, that's like, yeah.
Because honestly, anybody can run 3.2 or 3.1 miles. It's just a matter of just getting through it.
Yeah, exactly. I know, and people, it's so funny, the different race lengths, debating the severity of the pain, because some will say the mile's the hardest, because the mile's like, blah, you're reaching, you know, it's a different level. It's just different. It's like anaerobic burn. You're an anaerobic, like, we can't do this for very long, like,
just sheer willpower.
But then they say the 800, you know, people down talk it, then they say, oh, the 5K is like this, but the 10K is like this, but the half marathon, you know, there's like all the, but this race is like that. Like, what does it mean?
What's your favorite length of race? Like, if you
I like the half.
You like the half?
I'm trying to come into it. It's interesting because, like, my speed I can do is like a 6-minute mile, 6:05, 6:10, whatever for that pace.
Damn, that's good.
Which is pretty good, as it turns out.
It's really fucking good.
But, like...
6:05 for...
But if I go do a 10K, like, every 10K PR I've got right now is from the middle of a half marathon, right?
Oh, really?
So my PR right now is like 37, right, in a 10K.
Really?
Which is a PR I did like a month ago within the middle of a race, where all my other 10K races, they were right in that range, the same speed.
You've never PR'd, like,
10K,
just strictly a 10K race?
I did previously. My previous was like a 38 or 32, whatever, 39. But my most recent one was just within a half race, right? Which was a good in terms of fitness. Like, if I went and did a real 10,
that's
hard, I could probably do pretty good. But then, that's my whole thing I've learned through all of this, is my speed is kind of set, but my true max is not really, like, same with my 5K right now. I got my PRs within the fucking, it's like 17, and that's within, or 17:30 I did, like, within a half marathon race still, right? So my 5K, bam, 10K, bam. That was the last race I told you about, when I went hard and died at mile 10.
Yeah.
And I lost fucking 8 minutes on the dude. I went back, I don't know if I ever told you, I went back and looked at the Strava flyby.
Yeah.
Because he's got to watch it, I got to watch it, whoever, see where they are at the same time. And I had 8 minutes up on the dude. I think it was. I basically lost 8 minutes because I would have won. I was at the turnaround at mile 119 pace, 118.
Yeah.
I was trying to PR 119. I was trying to break 119 was my objective. And I was on that pace, like, at the 10-mile turnaround. No, 8-mile turnaround, because I still had 5 miles to go. So in this case, I was bonking. I kind of went, The first 3 miles were too fast. Point being, that was my fucking 5K recent PR, right? I was going too fast in the 10. But to do it, you got to stick at the pace of 6-minute mile, right? That's the pace. You just got to do it. But then I go back and look, and the first one was like a 5:38, then a 5:40, and then a 5:50, right? Those first 3 were way too fast.
Yeah.
Off the bat, and that little bit of 20 seconds on those 3 miles, it adds up, you know, when you down the line.
Yep.
And you're like, the whole game of it, it's like, it's obsessed. You have to be obsessed about it when you get into it.
Well, yeah.
The training that leads to it, as I seem to be. I've been ranting. How long has this thing been going on? Oh my god.
I can't fucking see shit. 19 minutes into it.
And that was just about running. Wow. That was what I want to talk about last week, was just leading into that.
I'm severely bummed I can't do this half marathon. I was really looking forward to it. You know, as soon as we're back, we'll start doing winter runs.
But I was glad that I just gave you that other training plan to do instead of me prescribing something. Just the liability of it, right? As a coach, like, that's what made me wonder. Back to where we were started with. I was like, I'm a coach now. And then I'm like, go run these miles, and oh, my leg fucking hurts. Like, oh, is it my fault for telling you?
No, it's not. It's my fault for being a lazy fucking piece of shit for literally 3 years, not doing anything outside of ski season, and then thinking I can.
Yeah, I guess that happens.
I mean, come on. I mean, going from being lazy, not running at all, to 30 days, have a half marathon. I mean, the fact.
But you only went like 3 miles. I mean, you did 3, 4.
Well, no, I was fucking following it like by the T. So like the exact mileage plan or whatever.
Yeah. So it wasn't. But which one was it? It was like the 4th or 5th run.
No, I was into week 2. It was
Oh.
it was the second week.
Gotcha. But yeah.
I did about 2 weeks of running. I think actually what happened was, so I did a 10 miler, and that's what fucked up my ankles. It was 8 or 10.
I turned this heater up. It's cold in here.
It's cool. 8 or 10. I think it was a 10 miler. The day before though, I'd had a really shitty day at work, and all I had to do, I think it was just a 5-mile run. That's all it was. And I did that, and I held like a 750 pace. I was like super irritated, so I just was like blasting through it, like sprinting up hills and stuff. And then I was a little sore the next day, but I still went and did the long run. So that was the Friday I did my angry run, Saturday was the long run, and then Sunday could like barely fucking walk, couldn't even move. And then Monday, still same thing, could barely walk, could barely move, but my dumbass, I literally got home from work, ate a fucking edible, and was just like, alright, I'm just gonna go fucking run to see what happens. And I literally had to have my girlfriend come pick me up. I was like 4 miles into it. I was over there by the Target, or Fred Meyer on Abbott, running through the parking lot, and I literally just like...
Oh, gnarly.
I had to sit down. I was in so much fucking pain.
Crazy that happens. Well, that's the thing. Like, right now, if I do this, I can see if it'll do it. Pop. When I stand up, it thumps right here.
Oh, really?
And it happened from one run, like 2 summers ago. It wasn't this summer, it was the summer before. I was planning to do a half marathon race in Anchorage, blah, blah, blah. And I was doing like a 10 miler at Crow Creek and back or something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't anything drastic, but then it didn't even hurt anything on it. But I wore different shoes. I got one pair, I got different pairs of shoes. And I wore this thinner pair. And I liked them because they're kind of like almost old school racing flats. They're really thin profile, blah, blah, blah. But I did the run, nothing hurt, felt great, whatever. Next day, my knee's kind of like, oh, that was weird. What is it? And it's a slow ache, like, oh shit. And it was like 2 weeks from this race, and I even had to make the call not to do it. It was the first one I really actually pulled out on because, like, something's weird. And then I get off those shoes, and then I would try them again. I'd just go out for a cruise out of the pain, and boom, it hurt again. So I was like diagnosing it to the shoe. And, which is just really, because it's all like your heel is that high above your foot, all these metrics, miniature metrics that are like ski metrics, like your shoe shape literally is like a side cut, it's micro ski dimensions. Yeah. Think about it.
Anyway, I'm very disappointed. But as soon as I can run again, we'll do night runs in the winter and shit.
Oh, Zwift. Like Zwift will save my sanity. Zwift is amazing. I got it like 2 winters ago. I heard about it, I was like doing the triathlon training, and then I like, what's Zwift, what's this thing? And I literally like kind of just, because something's gonna elude you on the internet. You can hear about shit. Yeah. But how have I never heard about this? And it's one of these that's been around for a while. I'm like, anyway, I was like, what do I need to get? And my first screen was like this big, and it was like in a weird spot. Like, but I made the room all sweet, right?
Dude, that's a badass setup you got in there. That's super sick.
Yeah, that TV.
I know, it's perfect.
Yeah, and you tip it back, and then you turn off the avatar, so you just see the pavement, and you got your beer and your weed and your music and the wind blowing on you, and or I'll put like if I'm listening to some podcast where I want to see what they're talking about, I'll just put it on the bar in front of you.
There you go.
And you're just fucking pedaling, and that's the thing, the beauty about it is you can just start so fucking easy, and it's my number as far as running injuries and shit. I can't just run 6-7 days a week. Basically, I know that because these little injuries, your legs are like popping, they can't deal with it. Then they'll be like, yeah, we don't like it. Yep. Yeah, so you're always riding that line of trying to get better, working your system, but not over. It's like such fine line. There's no way that I'm like even elite. I'm regionally elite, but not even regional pro. Right? They're stuck in.
Oh, there's guys
so fucking
level. Yeah, they're animals.
Yeah, and I'm like right there where I realize I'm faster than the average person, but I see like where it actually goes.
Well, it's like the difference between like racing in college, and then you stack a college racer up against an Olympic racer. I mean, both are insanely good racers, but like,
yeah. Well, something so as far as my half marathons, like I've been running with the college racers. Like I got like my best race ever, for the record, was that half marathon in Anchorage. It was like a 5 mile, or I got 5th in Alaska State Championships.
No shit.
Yeah, it was like
sick, dude.
And it was like the Boston qualifier, and it was like 1,500 people in the race. And I got 5th. It was like that was my PR. It was like 119 something. But anyway, so I'm getting distracted. It's like such a big subject.
Wait, real quick before we move on. You mentioned when you were with Zwift, you have your beer.
Oh, Zwift. That's what we were talking about.
You have your beer and your weed set up. Are you smoking and drinking while you're doing it? Oh, hell yeah!
You set up your bar stool, and I'll have like 2 beers, or I'll put it over there far. So I'm like, I know it's over there. And that's my point, is where I was getting distracted. You're beating your shit up.
Yeah.
So I can either now go beat your shit up, but then it's like a recovery mode. I'm just gonna, and it like spins your legs out, and it just helps them. I notice it. But then it's a real interesting thing. If you do too much biking, then go back to running, your running suffers.
Yeah.
Because like you're getting muscle, it's a completely different thing.
Completely different muscle.
Your aerobic
different
engine
motion.
is
yeah.
like, we're ready to do it.
But your
like,
legs
I've
aren't.
done it where like I biked hard for a month or two. I did it bad at a race actually 2 years ago. It was in the winter. It was a power hour. I actually left Devos early to go do it one day. It was like an hour thing on a track at the Dome.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been running at all. I'd been Zwifting a bunch. And I was like, I'm going to do this fucking race. And I had a week. And I did like one run, like, whoop, I'm going to be sore. 2 runs at you. That's kind of, 3 runs. And I rode the line of what I knew I could do without destroying being sore. And I went to the race. I was like, this is going to fucking hurt. Because you feel like bulky.
Yeah.
Your legs feel slow and bulky. You feel like you got power, but they're not fast. And that's exactly what happened. I was like, and I did it, an hour. I was so goddamn sore, just like destroyed. Like,
that's literally what I felt on my last little 5-mile run that I hurt myself. It's like I took off, and instantly my legs. It wasn't like it was more than just like sore. It's like they weren't my legs. Like bulky. It's a good way.
Yeah, or Zwift, but in general, dude, it's like, dude, it saved me because I was doing CPG, finishing the most epic job ever. I was like running this big building in the stress. There's a certain amount of stress going on, and I was dealing with it. But the Zwifting was like this release at night. I'm like, I'll be there. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking Zwift.
Spin it out.
You spin it out. It's like a sauna, but you always like start slow. But that's the thing about it. Like I love to just like you start real slow. You're like I'm barely even doing anything, but you naturally warm up. But that's the thing about it. And I've gotten good at. If you get on it, you'll probably do this. Everyone does this. So when you get in there, I say I start slow now, and I am in general, and I don't. But you want to race random people. You can like go. You get Zwift will make you like instantaneously like. A dog chasing a stick, like an insane black lab that's fucking annoying, chasing a stick all day, bugging you. That's what you become like. I'd become like. A lot of people do. You might do it. Just the competitive spirit comes up. So like, races are one thing, but it's funner to almost. It's like you're hot rodding at the stoplight with your car, right?
Yeah.
So you're going up a hill, and you're like, I'm doing 3 watts kilogram, and I'm coming up on this dude that's doing 3.1, 3.2, and I'm like, I'm gonna catch him. But they can see like,
this guy's coming up.
Dudo's a minute behind me, or he's 4 minutes behind me. He's whatever. They may care or not care. They're not paying attention. But then you can kind of mess with them to see if they're paying attention, right?
So you start creeping up on them. They start speeding.
They might ignore you. They might do nothing, or they might do a little. Like, he wants to race. Like, and it's the weirdest. It's fun. It's fucking weird.
It's super fun.
Yeah.
No, that's super fucking fun.
So like, or the other ones, you're in the lead. You're going up, and you see some coming fast behind you. And like
you like,
right when you get to them, like, and they'll be right there too. Coming up, and all of a sudden, brrr, you go with them.
You're like, no.
Yeah, it fucks with them. They'll be like, what the fuck? And so sometimes they'll go with it, and all of a sudden you're racing, like, and it can depend. Like I've done it where we're doing the Alp to Zwift. It's a fucking hour and a half or hour climb, and you're like, motherfucker, I'm tired of this, but no, I'm not gonna give up.
Giving up.
Or you'll do like just a dumb sprint where you're like, and you'll just speed up, and then you're like, fuck you, I'm not doing this. This is dumb. Like, and But the best one ever was going up the Alp, where, what were we doing? Okay, so I'm going up, and I was like 5 minutes behind a dude. Mm-hmm. I get right on, and I'll backtrack and describe what it is. So in that world, when I said, hey, the top of that mountain, that's the Alpe d'Huez, which is a mirrored image of the real one in France, turn for turn, elevation pitch for pitch, da-da-da-da-da, enough so that there's whole videos where they go to Zwift, they'll go ride it on Zwift, weighing X amount, doing X amount of watts, then they go over to France, and do it in real life, the same parameters, and it'll be within like 30 seconds of it, right?
That's sick.
Yeah, it's super cool.
That's super fucking sick.
So it means it's the watts, so even that one's a dumb trainer, it's measuring your watts. That's your energy it would take to move. It's just pure, simple physics math. And so they call it the algorithm for going up, but then also works for draft packs. So if you're with one dude, you'll draft off him, but if you're in a big fucking pack, like in a race, the racing is fucking phenomenal. Like, and there's a lot of discrepancy. So there's real world bike racers, then there's Zwift bike world racers, and the e-world is taken off, and there's certain fitness involved with that, so there'll be a lot of big hubbub if like real bike racer comes to Zwift, and how do they do? Like, he got beat, he did good, right? They're like, there'll be these big races. Then there's pure cyclists, then there's like triathlon people, which are like the weirdos who are doing all of them, but they're not purely good at the cyclists. So the general argument is the road cyclist should be better than a triathlon cyclist. Mm-hmm. It should be. So then there'll be random triathlon cyclists that can be like, he's going to be as good as a real road cyclist, he's so fucking good. But then they're like, no, he can't be. They'll have these races. And they're fucking exciting. They're exciting to me. It's the dorkiest thing ever. Dude, it's a dude. So the video, I'll be him on his screen, and a little sidebar of them on there, and he's on a fucking bike, right, in his spandex, in his little fucking garage, and the other dudes are around the world in their little garage. Anyway, it's fucking e-racing, physically. Anyway, I'm talking about Zwift still. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I like hearing you ramble.
No, Zwift's amazing. It's the point of my story. Like, you get on it.
After seeing your little setup in there, I'm convinced. I already have the sick-ass TV, and I got the Apple TV set up.
Oh, yeah. Well, so you go App Store, it's $15 a month. That trainer I got online for $400, but if you got $700, go to REI and you can get a real smart trainer, like a Wahoo Kicker. That's the name, Wahoo Kicker. It's kind of like your go-to thing. Dude, and you can stick any bike on it. So you already got a bike, like a mountain bike.
Yeah.
And if you have, like mine, you'd have a mountain bike, you'd have to put a slick tire on it, but you, if it's fucking take the wheels off. So mountain bikers use it. Also, this is like a big long commercial for Zwift, basically. You can run on it.
We'll change soon.
So on that subject, I gotta keep track of what we talk about, because as I edit chunks for video, boom, here's the podcast. Now, I'm gonna go back and pull out sub-subjects.
Little clips.
Zwift, hey, blah blah blah, Zwift, blah blah blah, boom, that's its own movie. Pulled out of the same original.
One of us goes off on a crazy rant, clip of that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take notes on Zwift, running. But which is what I want to talk about last week anyway, because then as it ties back, so this has all been just fucking sports, like, endurance bullshit. I always like thinking about, well, this was all that. Backtrack another day, I had notes from, just action sports. You know, extreme ski sports.
Extreme ski sports.
And like, this, it's technical, it's a skill sport. There's skill sports versus endurance sport.
Skiing's a skill sport. Well,
Yeah.
downhill skiing, not Nordic.
It's getting warm in here finally.
It's not, it's nice.
I've been ranting. What other notes? Okay.
I don't know, what do you make of the state of the world right now? State of the...
Okay.
What's your take on everything?
On what?
On everything. Just the fucking madness that's going on. Alright, we'll talk about COVID first.
COVID. Well, back to the madness.
Alright, we got madness first.
I'll write that down, the madness.
Madness. Because that's what's going on right now. It's madness.
Well, that's what me and Andy were talking about. You were there. Talking about the polarity. Seriously, it's a sincere, theory. And, something's going on. Did I post that today? I don't know if you read Facebook much, but I did. There's a couple people I argue with. They're fun. And this guy, Jed, I try to get. I want him to come here. And he's like a kind of an avowed leftist, anarchist kind of type. It was 2 years ago was always like, I want to burn it all down.
Yeah.
Kind of like it's a fun thing to do. Now it's happening. Anyway.
Is he still all burn it all down, or is he quieted down?
Well, just today, I remember what the fucking video was even linked, but he was like, I have the suspicion, that's what he was. I don't want to feel like a conspiracy theorist, but I feel like the media is telling us things, be it CNN, Fox, whatever, to scare us in order to manipulate us. And it was kind of the biggest Captain Obvious, I wanted to be like, no shit.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
And I literally almost wrote, thanks Captain Obvious, which is funny because he's an actual sea captain. But I didn't want to sound like a dick. But anything I could say made it sound like a dick. Any response I truly wanted to say, thanks Captain. And then I was just wanted to, that's the thing about Facebook, you can say something and you regret it. I'm like, just don't say anything. And I didn't have any ill intentions anyway. But yes, and that was my response, or that's what he was responding to me, having said, it's I don't know, I think it's a deeper fucking, that's what he saw. Oh, that's what it was. It was a video of a dude saying something about Satan praying that the evil's coming, basically, and we gotta get our shit together, with the Jesus religious tone, right? And his question was I can't believe people are still afraid of Satan. And I was like, well, I don't think it's necessarily Satan, but it's the perceived evil. There's two paradigms that are become apparent, and each of them thinks the other one's Satan. These people riding the streets have all the intentions of the world. That's the most amazing thing. And I truly believe them. They think they're fighting, Trump is like Hitler to them.
They literally feel they're fighting fascists.
Yes, they literally think they're doing the best thing ever. And they might be in their world. So imagine there is two worlds. Talking about parallel dimensions and Mandela shit, that's where I think it's happening in the fucking real world. And it's almost like there's the individuals, and I should almost draw a picture, but, it's like two lobes. But there's the individual. Say I've got a lobe in my head of being happy or being angry. And you're happy, and all these people have this swaying balance of whether they're happy or not.
Yep.
Whatever these two things are. And not defining good or bad, it's just two things. It's polarity, opposites, whatever they might be. And it's coming out into the politics. And then as it gets to the massive, the hologram effect, hive mind effect happens. Ants, humans are like ants essentially. And they're like, boom, 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 and then, so that is happening in the big population, right? But where's that original? Then you backtrack. Why is this polarity coming from? Then you're like polar shift or solar flares. You know, some big random unknown thing. Which reminds me of like how I want to do a podcast with this other guy. I know those random people, and he's like a librarian at school, but he got me all these sci-fi books. You ever read sci-fi?
A little bit. Not a huge sci-fi fan.
I'm not either, but I read these last few sci-fi books. I know, sci-fi, and they were really fascinating.
Are they? Like, well,
like, so epically, and the point is I want to talk to him about, I'll talk to you about it right now, as I thought was just how sci-fi writers basically, take their contemporary archetypical human things and put them into a thesis of what's this world going to be, then how's it going to be? You know, it's like scientific predictions on a model, to put it like in that term. And a lot of those guys are in those terms. They are scientific minded. That's why I call it sci-fi, fucking science. But the last ones I read, I read Dune, Seven Eves, Three Body Problem, because I read them all in a row like last winter.
Oh, yeah.
I got one, I was like, that was fucking cool. Like, am I a sci-fi fan? Then out of the sci-fi books, I was inspired to make paintings of, so I made some paintings of like the visions from the books, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because I was looking for fucking paint ideas. And they're all, the 70s was fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'm not a huge sci-fi fan. I don't know.
Well, 70s, I'll tell you about it.
Please do. Please do.
It's a book like this thick, and
See, I can't get through those fucking massive books. I get bored with them.
well, it's like it covers like 5,000 years of human history.
Yeah, that's
it's
just
like,
a lot.
Yeah, and it's one of those where it changes from one whole group of characters. They're like, oh wait, they're all dead, but a bunch of new characters and a whole new scene. But the gist of it is, it's fun to think about, is like there's Earth, and then one day they call it the event or something. Something hit the moon, and the moon went kadoosh, blew up into fucking like 7 chunks or 9 chunks, and it was up there, and the entire world is like, holy shit, what happened up there? No one knew. All they could tell is they think some little like neutron star came flying through the galaxy and just blew it up.
Fucked it up.
No one knew. Fucker's floating up there, and for like a year, it's floating up there. But then the scientists, they're like, okay, right when it first happened, the whole world's like, holy shit, like everyone's kind of like, what the fuck?
Freaking fuck. Yeah.
So then the scientists start being like, oh, wait a minute, this is bad, because there's like the physics of the chunks. Over time, they're going to end up floating around enough, they're going to eventually all run into each other and start breaking apart. One chunk here, one chunk there. And every chunk will then keep hitting each other, and there'll be a critical mass thing where they all go, and all the accelerating physics of it all, then they'll blow down all the fucking particle dust, and the dust will then fall out of the sky, and as it's all falling to the sky, it's going to fucking superheat and burn the Earth for 1,000 years.
Is that what happened?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what happened. So like everyone dies and then it's like
well, except for the people who fucking escaped to space and the people who escaped to the bottom of the ocean.
Okay.
So the whole book is following the people that escaped to the space, and it follows them for 5,000 years. The first days that it's going through the whole thing, like leading up to it, like people hanging out on Earth, like, oh, the fucking thing's happening soon, and everyone like it's all beautiful. Then when it happens, they said it would be a bunch of shooting stars, and the whole world's like, oh, this is cool here. And then it got bad. Obviously it all fucking burned down. So there's the people like are on the space station, like talking to their friend. You can imagine the drama. It's playing out. So boom, they're in space now. Boom, last contact from Earth. Earth's done, and it's like floating. They can see it's like surrounded in like a dust ball or whatever, and it's like blasting with lightning and fire. And they're like, oh fuck. So boom, it follows them now. What are we gonna do now? And it's super scientific. The guy who wrote it's an actual science dude, physicist who did something, a smart person, but it's super fascinating because it got into all about like space trajectory stuff on like, you need X amount of fuel to get you going certain speed, but the fuel weighs a certain amount and you weigh a certain amount to go a certain distance, but you're going that speed, you now need that amount of fuel to stop that same amount, right? Oh, yeah. So it's all fuel weight to distance stuff, and then using the gravity of this to push you to gravity of that, and it goes on for fucking pages and pages. And,
see, I love the concept. That sounds badass. I can't get through.
Yeah, I know, and I don't read much either. But then I just did. I just got into a role last year. I was like, I'm gonna read these fucking books. Anyway, so 70s. Okay, I'll just tell the whole story. It fucking devolves to fucking space to where boom, there was 7 chicks left. Everyone fucking died, down to where like we're the last people on Earth for whatever reason. It was them. They're on Earth, fucking space station, and they had all. It was just norm. They had all saved all their eggs, and fucking million eggs each or whatever. How the fuck they save eggs? How do they save eggs? Like pull them out. I don't know.
Oh, like their eggs?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Fuck yeah! I don't know.
And there were 7 of these chicks, and they save them. So then they got, that was the whole plan of the thing. They get to a giant fucking asteroid, and they locked their fucking unit to it, and they were able to mine it and made a new civilization on the asteroid. Then they went back. As they're doing that, then they migrated all the way around. So the Earth, in over 5,000 years, became a huge ultra space ring city civilization out of those 7 chicks. And they all became a race. There's 7 races out of the 7 chicks.
That's
chicks, I shouldn't call them chicks. Women, females.
Yeah, this is 2020. Fuck. White privilege.
So it's a fascinating concept. And now you're at this point, and you're like, this type of person, and all the names. There's like Moirans. I don't remember the names. I remember Moira, whatever, Ivies. Each name of the females was the name of the race.
Interesting.
Is it morphed out? And like, as you read the descriptions, you realize some of them were black, some were mixed, some were white. As it came out, like, you're like, oh, okay, but they're renamed a whole 5,000 years later, right?
That's true.
Talking about all this fucking racist stuff. And then there was conflict, and there was a fucking left, right, red, blue, blah, blah, blah bullshit. And then, they found that they're terraforming back to Earth. They're like, we're going back to Earth now. So they're going through stories of like generations, like 5,000 years. Hey, we're going back to Earth now. So the girl's job was to fly a terraflyer thing. She'd fly down to Earth and look around and be like, this is fucking cool down here. Like, I fucking heard about this place for 5,000 years. And they had been seed bombing it with shit, so they had planned ahead, had all these seed bombs. So they would, like, drop seeds on this mountain, and they had to wait for the fucking seeds to grow, wait for the fucking birds, right?
Yeah,
to know that they could go back or whatever. So they go back, and she sees a fucking random, they call them indigenous. The fucking dudes, there were still people on Earth, and they weren't quite sure it was a myth that these people were still on Earth, because everyone's like, no, they're all dead.
No one survived, yeah.
And they get there, they turn out, there was people that were there, and the 2 groups that had survived on Earth were, the first group, they found him in Alaska, in the Brooks Range. The dude was like a super crazy billionaire miner. I don't know if he's a billionaire. He's a rich fucking dude in Alaska who knew about it, and for his 2 years, he owned a huge mining operation in the Brooks Range, that's what it was, and he was like, fuck all y'all, he just started digging fucking tunnels for 2 years, because he knew the fucking shit was happening, just the massive bunker prep, right? And and it was him and his family, and like however many people I don't remember, and it goes all his logistics. We're going into the Earth for this long, we don't know how long, what's happening, douche, they close the hatch, kadoosh, they're in the fucking caves for 2,000 years or 1,000 years. And so it's their story as they come out, and they're fucking walking around, and they kept seeing these fuckers up in the sky. And they're like, what the fuck are those guys? Then they figure out, then there's the whole people who've been living under the ocean. They were like military submarine, and then how they had actually evolved into being like fucking swimming fish fucking people. Anyway, that was 7 Eves.
God damn. That's quite the
Covers a lot of ground.
Yeah, just a little bit. Jesus. That's sick.
So 7 Eves. What was the other? 3-body problem. I haven't even gotten into that one. Man, it's cold. It's cold in here.
Turn the heat back up.
It's high.
Oh shit.
I think the thermostat might be funky.
It's blinking.
Oh, it's blinking. But that's why sci-fi is interesting, because you can apply it back to real life.
Yeah.
Speaking of real life,
Let's talk about real life.
well, so that guy, well, you haven't heard about this. I had a good 2 weeks ago, like a super ski legend died. I don't know if you heard about him. Like a super local ski legend dude, a Viking. I don't know.
Wait, oh yeah, I've heard of him. He died.
Yeah, like it was a bummer.
How?
In Whittier, fell off his boat by himself at Zodiac with waders on and no life jacket. And
That was him?
Yeah, it was in the paper.
Yeah, I heard about the... Fuck.
But the point of him was interesting. I've known him for like 20 years, 22 years or whatever. You know, as a ski, I skied with him a few times, but he's well known. Everyone knows him.
Yeah, I know. I've definitely heard of
But it goes back to it's just part as people dying goes. Let's change the subject. People I know dying.
Let's go for it. Talk about people dying.
Because my friend, I had a friend, Fred Bull, a long time ago. So when I was like 18, 19, 20, just moved out, going backcountry skiing. I'm a backcountry skier. Like, I want to do it. And I was doing it like a thing. And then Fred, he'd been doing it kind of the next level up. Because his dad owned like I Did a Sport. Remember I Did a Sport? When they'd run, fucking I Did a Raw Trail, all that. That was his dad's whole thing when they did that race. And he had done all these epic long races, and he was super known in the endurance sports community, backcountry community, whatever, and then we became friends, whatever. And then so I learned a bunch from him, going with Fred, and then he was learning from the Viking point. Him and the Viking were like fucking ski buddies. So there's like a posse of them, you know, just there's different posses of people, right? And they were friends, and he was learning the Viking. Viking's like 20 years older than us. He was 61, so he's 20 years older. And it's just seeing people, you know, he had been training Fred to me, and then, you know, when they fucking die, you're like,
I know.
a bummer.
It is a bummer. It's weird. Death is a weird thing. I've lost friends you like grow up with. It's weird. I don't know.
Who? Oh, you know someone?
Yeah, I've lost friends.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. I feel like everyone loses people as you grow up, especially here in Alaska. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, my best friend. I don't know if you told me that he died. You know, a couple years ago. Abe. Did you ever meet him?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think. I remember.
But yeah, he was like, you know. So that's just interesting. And then my ex-girlfriend from that exact same year is dead. Died too. I told you about her. So I had like an ex-girlfriend who I was like going together for like 3 years, whatever. You know, it's an important person from the time of life. And Abe was an important person. And then Fred. And like, they're all these important people from a chunk. And they're all like down. You're like, ooh, like it's just a mind fuck is all.
It is a mind fuck. No, we had a close friend of ours who committed suicide about 3 years ago. Like in our main friend group. It was weird. It's weird. It was weird. Like it still is. Like hanging out with your group, especially because he was like always around. You know, and it's weird now. Like not there. I don't know. That's a weird fucking thing. Also, in the last I guess they weren't super close, but in the last probably 5 months. An ex-girlfriend of mine, and then also an ex-friend, not really ex-friend, friend of mine, both of their dads, who were like healthy dudes, both got diagnosed with like pancreatic cancer.
So wait, both dads of two different friends?
Yeah, 2 different friends. It's completely random. One just happened like 2 months ago. My friend's dad, and then my ex-girlfriend's dad was like 4 months ago. It's completely random, don't know each other, but they both got pancreatic cancer. They were healthy dudes, and both died within 2 months of getting diagnosed from it. Just like out of the fucking blue.
Well, that's what Ginsburg died of.
Yeah, but she had a long bout with it. It was weird. It was just like...
I know, pancreatic, that's a nasty one. Fucking
yeah, and it was, I mean, they were not, like, they were tough Alaska dudes who'd been up here for a long time, and it's just, I don't know.
I know, that one kind of comes out of nowhere. Like, because the other cancers, they kind of like, oh, do this or do that.
Yeah, because I had a friend in Montana we watched his dad die of lung cancer, and that was awful. That was slow. That took a couple of years. It was just
Was he still smoking while...
No, he wasn't. He switched to the smokeless tobacco stuff there at the end. But...
Well, yeah, it's crazy watching people. Tons of people have done it. They have COPD, and they're just like, huffing like cigarettes.
I know.
It's crazy.
Well, you see people that are fucking 500 pounds, and they're still just sticking, eating and smoking and drinking and all that. Like, they just can't.
Well,
addictions are a fucking... I mean...
Well, let's talk about the whole polarity. People go crazy. I think it's like, you know, people are split. It's like a mental illness. It's like a literal mental illness thing. You joke, politically you call it TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome, but it's like, it's something more than that. Like, it's insane.
What do you mean?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just insane. That's all everyone. That's, you know. I listen to all these podcasts all day at work, and everyone's just, that's the conclusion. Everyone's just like, this is fucking insane. We don't know what's happening. You know, as far as commentary, pundits, whatever. And well, it's like, yeah.
You either think it's all just absurd, or you think the world is ending. Those are kind of two polarities.
What are they? Well, that's what I was talking about Desna actually right before he got there. Just the impression of like, you know, and it all comes like, I'm not even a Trump fan. It's just trying to cut through the bullshit, and then it happens. Some chips fall where they lie. You know, she's like, Trump rallies are dangerous. She kept talking about this like, I'm like the Antifa people. They showed all their mugshots. People got arrested, right? And you look at them, and you're like, and it's not that you're being a critical, judgmental person, but if you see a person with like dyed blonde hair and like tattoos on their face and fucking funny tattoos, piercings, they're a lost person looking for their self.
Yeah.
It's not that, and you're not even being judgmental in saying that. It's just a known thing in society.
Well, it's just a fact.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
And they're a bunch of funny-looking people. They're like, this is Antifa, because they're lost as individuals, whatever, and then they're
we have an economy right now where nobody can fucking work.
Yeah,
and
they're
all
attracted
locked
to the
down.
chaos, and then they're told that they're the beat down to this thing. Meanwhile, the other people up here, they're like, we're not beating you down. And I was telling investors, like, what about, I'm like, yeah, they're all funny-looking. She's like, well, what about funny-looking Trump supporters? Fat, white woman with bleached blonde hair. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure, but they're not mean. That's the difference. They're just happily...
They're just Trump supporters.
Trump supporters. They're not... And I'm like, that's what I'm saying. They're happy. And these people are sad. And there's a video I was describing. I'll describe it to you. I'm trying to find it. I don't know how to find it. And it was, I think it was Blaze TV. You know, so then instantly they're like, you're a right-wing fucking da-da-da. Like, it was this chick just like, hey guys, how's it going? So there's a Trump rally. going on this side of the street, on this side of the street. They're lined up to go into the stadium.
Yeah, okay, this
These
is
guys
gonna
are protesting. La boo Trump. And she goes over to the protesters, and they're fucking a bunch of gnarly, rude, insane, cursing, spitting.
The anti-Trump guys are?
Yeah, they're all like, and she's like, so what do you guys think about those Trump supporters over there? And they're like, fuck that mother. You know what they look like.
Oh, yeah.
They're fucking, they're like, ah. And they're justified anger on how horrible Trump is, and Republicans, and evil Biden, right? And they're going nuts. Just leave it at that. You go over to the Trump side across the street, and they're all, and I'm telling this to Vesna, and she's a super liberal, basically brainwashed person, who's kind of coming out of it. She's asking some really incisive, good questions.
Yeah.
The Trump people, I'm like, they're just fucking nice. She's like, they're just standing there. They're regular, normal people. That's what I said. She's like, what do you mean about normal? Then she got stuck on what normal meant. I'm like, I don't know. Normal fucking people.
Not
like, nice.
Not
looking,
demonizing
well-dressed,
half.
and half of them are black. A quarter of them are black, a quarter are Mexican, and a bunch of white people. And they're all just nice, normal people. That's all.
Well, a lot of Trump supporters are business owners and or people that own businesses, you know, because the Trump administration is
like
like
just
good-
normal, quiet,
normal.
polite people. The silent majority, as they're known. And so they're standing over there, and she goes over to him. She's like, hey, so these protesters across the street are, like, pretty fired up. Are you guys nice people? And they're like, yeah, we're great. You know, and they're just, like, mom and pop, random, nice fucking people. And she's like, okay. And she goes back, and then she's, like, asking these protesters. She's like, hey, do any of you want to come and talk to these guys across the street? I'll take you over. We'll just talk to them and see what you say. And they're like, fuck you. We're not going to talk to no one. Stupid. And then some of them would be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. It's a trap. And they're like, so how's it a trap? Because they keep telling themselves, I don't feel safe over there. They're going to attack me. Like, they're not going to attack you.
There's no Trump supporters that are out there smashing windows. They are in cars.
And they keep telling themselves that there is. And they keep acting.
And there's not.
There's none. Zero. Because they're the well-behaved, nice... Anyway.
But there's not. And honestly, if you would stop smashing shit, the big scary cops in riot gear would go away.
Yes.
And the federal government would go away. Like, if you just chilled... Like, you know, they want it to stop. You want to stop getting gas. You want to stop getting beat. You want to stop having curfews. Stop lighting the whole fucking city on fire. And it'll stop. And fight it the right... I mean, and that's not to say the system isn't broken, and I don't recognize that there's racism and all that shit, but I'm just pointing out a fact.
It's common sense.
It's common fucking sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a joke, dude.
So
I saw this fucking thing. It was the most absurd shit I've ever seen. You can look it up, check me on it. The mayor of...
I need to write this down. Politics. We switch.
Politics. The mayor of fucking New York, that de Blasio guy. I think I heard this on a podcast. Look it up. He was trying to argue that, you know, it's dangerous to eat because of COVID. Dangerous to eat in restaurants. It's dangerous to gather in mass groups, have concerts and all that. But he was like, but Black Lives Matter protests are okay.
Yeah, and you couldn't do any other protests.
Yeah, he couldn't do any of the other ones.
Yeah.
But he didn't say, you know, you can't say that.
He did say that.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah.
He just came out and said it? I thought he was trying to...
Yeah.
Jesus,
like there was
fuck.
someone trying to go to a Jewish funeral. The cops rolled in and shut him down. Then there was someone who was trying to do another thing, shut it down. Trying to go to church, shut it down. But you could go riot in the streets. And then they say it didn't add... And then they try to come for the COVID spike. But meanwhile, people had riot in the street for 3 months. Like, mass gatherings all the fucking time. They're told us to go lockdown extreme, don't do anything, but you can go riot in the street because the CDC, who's fucking corrupt, insane, they came out and said that racism was a disease. It was a more dangerous disease than COVID. So it was more of a, you were allowed to go do it. And also, well, you hear about the critical race theory? How Trump, no one knows about this. Critical race theory is the whole pseudoscience behind, like, the intersectional stuff, which I described, which is, like, picking people apart and giving them value based on their race. Like, right now, and I had to explain this to business, the fucking pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid is the white, cisgendered males. We're bad. We're at the bottom.
Yeah, we're bad.
You come up the pyramid. If you're a woman, you're up the pyramid. If you're a black woman, you're up. If you're a black woman with one eye, you're up. If you're a black woman with one eye, lesbian,
Black,
one leg,
trans
you're up
fucking
here,
woman.
You're up here. You're the most marginalized person. Therefore, we'll take your word over their word in terms of fucking everything. Backtrack, and they'll get a job over this person, whatever, because they're trying to it's reparations. It's like reparations for the perceived badness of the patriarchy. And there's aspects of it that were bad, but there's aspects of it that outweigh that are far superior. Life's fucking good right now.
I don't know, man. I just...
It's all ridiculous. You see fucking
What
California
were we
was trying
talking
to...
about? What was the subject, though? Let me get on that. I think
COVID.
COVID, yeah.
Did you see California tried to make trick-or-treating illegal? Or
They
Los
did,
Angeles
yeah.
did?
Or they said they're not, you know.
Well, no, they did, but then they
Oh.
walked back on it.
Oh.
People lost their fucking mind.
Oh yeah, the CDC walking back on shit. They said that was a thing. Oh, critical race theory. Then they said, remember, they came out, we talked about this, I think, the 6% thing. Like, only 6% of the deaths were actual just COVID. The other 96 or 2.6 times other COVID.
They said that, and then they said that actually that was false.
They only said it was false after Trump came out and cited it.
Yeah.
Trump tweeted about it. Hey, this is fucking good news, everyone. They then made up some fucking pseudo fucking mental gymnastics to explain why it wasn't good, and then backtracked it.
Why are political... Why is health statistics and health guidelines a political thing? Like, why they...
Because they're all infiltrated. That's why
It's
how the
all
FBI it starts back from the illegal FISA shit going on Trump. Yeah, the Russiagate illegal FISA coming from the FBI. It's integral corruption, you can say. The deep state. That's where the deep state's coming from. There was a sub-subject. I keep getting distracted.
Sorry.
Oh my god. Pause.
Pause, we're stupid. We're still going?
It's going.
Yeah, it is. Oh, shit.
No, what was this? It was a good subject. Fuck. It totally just, my brain just was like, beep, 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 beep. Let's try. I just wrote politics. Politics.
I'm glad we don't have deal with a lot of that shit up here. We don't have, like, riots and stuff. Well, you couldn't have.
Oh, what were we talking about? Seriously?
Fuck, dude, I don't know.
Something.
What? I thought we were just, like, launched into politics.
We did, but there's a specific subject. I completely don't remember what.
Yeah, I said something before I started talking about the mayor of New York, and you were...
Oh. It'll be good. It'll come back.
Who are you gonna vote for?
I was thinking of not voting. Just,
You gotta vote.
seems like a pain in the butt.
You gotta fucking vote. I don't want to fucking vote either. I mean, Jesus Christ, you have...
They should. You know what they should do? Like they did in Iraq. Remember they made people do their little pink dye on their thumb? Because then it'll shame people into voting. If you didn't get the dye on your thumb, you're a piece of shit.
But also, it's kind of hard when you have to choose between a pussy grabber and a dude with fucking dementia.
Yeah.
He's fucking Joe Biden. He's like...
Well, and that's what Bezos hung up on, is that he's a pussy grabber, bad dude. And I'm like, well, okay, it's not a moral contest. Yes, we know that. And then, but all these other good things were going on.
With Trump.
America was fucking kicking ass despite them trying to take him down. And everyone's like, oh, boo, because, yeah, everyone became racist. We weren't racist until, like, they decided we needed to be.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was actually funny. I was, not to sort of change the subject, but to talk about, like, what's racist and what's not. So, you know the Brian Russell race they have here, that ski race they do. It's the dual race where the ski racers put on the
I think so.
costume.
Turn that down. It finally warmed up.
So they have a race every year called the Brian Russell, because it's named after the Brian Russell, this kid who died, I think, in 2002. Anyway, all the kids, they put on costumes and you dual slalom race your friends or whatever. And, you know, I grew up racing here, so this would have been when I was at first year, I think they did the J4 thing. So I want to say 2008, maybe? And so there's always a bunch of different awards, but, you know, they always do an award for best costume. And I thought it was funny. The first year I did it, the people that won best costume, everybody loved it, they got like medals and shit, all the parents funny, there was a white kid, ski race, and a black kid, and they just flopped. The black kid did whiteface and the white kid did blackface. They wore each other's stuff and painted each other's faces, and everyone thought it was fucking hilarious. And that was literally, I mean, it was like 10 years ago. And it was so, but now if you try to do that, you would get crucified. But it's like we were saying, like, we weren't racist until we all tried to paint ourselves out to be racist. I mean, I don't know. It was funny, like, chatting with Sam, like, when I was younger, like, in middle school and stuff like that, the shit that we said, just, like, the words we threw around, like, the words like faggot and retard, I'm sure I used the N-word a bunch of times, like, that was just, like, you know, people said that shit, and, like, teachers sort of heard it, and it was fine, like, everyone just, like, said horrible stuff. You played, like, Xbox with your friends, people just said the most anti-Semitic, horrible shit ever. But I felt like, as a society, we were we were! Dude, playing, like, the people that played Xbox back in the day know that. It was horrible. Yeah, I was, like...
as you're talking to people
Yeah, you're playing online. I remember, I'm, like, 12
that's like common knowledge.
Yeah, it's like common knowledge. It was horrible back in the day. But society as itself, you know, there was no fucking race. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there probably was. Maybe we just didn't hear about it.
Well, but that's what I guess they're saying was the racism. But it wasn't... I mean...
I don't know.
I thought about it, too. Like... And we talk about it at work. It's like, I'm actually more judgmental of a person based on what they're wearing. Their clothes. Whatever race they are, I'm like, I look at I'm like, okay, and I acknowledge races, but I'm like, oh, dude, but he's dressed like he's actually from Africa, like some cool stuff. I'm like, that dude's probably from Africa.
He's a black dude.
You can make assumptions of them based on their clothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Secondary, even more primary than their race, because you can see a white person, black person, and like the black guy's dressed nice. I'm like, oh, dude's dressed nice. He's taking care of himself. He knows what the fuck's going on.
Or he's dressed like a scrub, and he's got a ratty hoodie on, and all that. Oh, he's homeless.
He's a fucking scrub. And I see the white person who's dressed good, and I dress like a fucking slob, as it turns out. You know, the general scheme, I'm pretty slobby just by function.
That's true.
Because I'm like, I catch myself. I told a little side story. I'm gonna write down what were we just talking about. Oh, clothing. Judging people by clothing. That's pretty good.
That's racist.
Judging by clothing. Going to Whistler for the first time as like a little Alaskan ski bum. Like I'm wearing fucking Carhartts and like a ratty jacket. Going to Whistler, skiing, yay, whatever, do. And like usually you go to the bar in Alaska, you're wearing Carhartts and a fucking jacket, you're fucking, that's it.
You fit right in,
yeah. Rubber boots and extra tufts, that's the fucking uniform.
Floor's all muddy and snowy, and yeah,
it's just normal. And like going to Whistler, going to the bar, it was like for a ski comp, and you're doing the meet and greet, like get your tickets and shit, whatever sort of thing, and people are dressed up. Like,
dude, I know it's the same thing. My dad has the ski condo down in Sun Valley, and it's the same shit. Like, remember the first time I walked into the day lodge? Like, I walked in and
that must be pretty ritzy down there.
Well, I mean,
I've heard it's a ritzy.
It is ritzy, but I will say this: like, it's as ritzy as you want to make it. Like, if you just want to like go sit in a plastic chair, get a burger, sit there with your friend, like swear, have a beer, do whatever the fuck you want. It's like
swear. You put swear as one of your.
Well, no, I mean, you could go there. It's just like your regular average fucking ski bum. But then on this side of the fucking day lodge, you can literally have like a dude in a suit with the silver platter bring you a filet mignon, and everyone, even though they're all dressed in ski gear, you know, it's all brand new fucking Patagonia, and everyone's wiping their feet off, and no one's got their voice
that's like
ready.
going here to sit in a bar at 7
Yeah, essentially. But even up here at 7G's, like you can walk in there drunk with all your friends and just sit up at the bar and like, screw around. I mean, you can't.
That is a nice little touch of class. I've only gone in there a couple times. You're like, oh, this is fancy.
Every time I've gone in there, I've been absolutely hammered, and I feel bad because like I know it's fancy, but I don't ever.
You're hammered before you get there.
Well, yeah, because I'm always like with my friends, and you just taking shot laps and beer laps, and then you get a little drunk, and I'm like, hey, let's go get a fizz.
But then knowing you're being judged by clothes, going to Anchorage. I'll go to Anchorage. You can do it in Anchorage, basically. So if I'm in Girdwood, I'm dressed like. I dressed up. I put a button-up shirt right now.
If I'm that's dressed up for Girdwood.
If I got like a hoodie or whatever, I look fucking totally normal. But I remember I did this. This was like 10 years ago. So I'm like 25, 26, whatever. And I was at my parents' house in town for some reason. And I was like, I'm gonna go bike. I'm gonna go walk. I was killing time. I was like, I'm gonna go walk around the high school, take a dog for a walk or something. No, I didn't have a dog. The dog's actually another level of judgment. Like if I see a single dude without a dog, you're like, what's he? But if they got a dog,
yeah, I know it's on.
You're like, oh, you're probably cool. They're keeping that animal alive. There's a certain amount of compassion in his head. Anyway, I'm just like, I felt like a scrub. I kind of got halfway going. I realized what I looked like was, you know, I had a beard and a scrubby vest and pants. I'm like, I look like an Anchorage homeless person. Like, this is what they think I'm an Anchorage homeless person now. I'm like, oh, like, it's just interesting to have that realization. I'm like, I knew I wasn't, but then backtracking how I did actually used to live in the woods, out here, like an actual crazy woods person.
Yeah, it's funny.
My parents were worried about that. Like, other friends were like going to college. I'm like, I don't live in a tar paper shack in the woods. It's awesome. It's like, I go skiing every day. It's pretty awesome. It's free rent in Girdwood.
There you go. Oh, it's funny. It's like me, you know, because I ride a motorcycle, ride a Harley, and so, you know, I don't look like the typical Harley rider, but I do have like the leather jacket and I ride a Harley. People automatically assume I'm like crazy right-wing nut job, like Trump supporter dude. I literally had one guy pull up on a Harley. He was like, "You vote for Trump?" And I'm like,
really?
I literally just said yeah because I didn't want to. I was like, "Yeah, brother," because you know, fucking jacked Harley dude.
Really?
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
That's out of the blue. He just says that.
Oh, dude, it's so funny. It's
funny.
It's so fucking funny.
Weird.
Yeah, guys on like the little crotch rockets don't like guys on Harleys. It's weird.
Yeah, they're like two different.
It's just like the same thing as like skiers and snowboarders. It's weird.
Yeah.
But then
you see like the pack of Harleys that roll into Sorrel, but then there'll be like one or two crotch rockets with them. They'll
yeah.
Be like, eh.
Well, it's funny because like, you know, I don't give a fuck because, you know, I'll chat with anyone. So I pull on the Seward Highway and I'll start chatting with some guys that are on crotch rockets. And then sometimes you'll see like a dude on a Harley ride by, and he gives me the death stare. He's like going by like, what are you talking to them for?
Really?
Yeah, they're like eyeing you down. I'm like, come on, man. It's funny how people create these own little.
Well, tribalism.
It literally goes back.
We call it polarity in the politics, but you can also just call it tribalism.
You can literally find it with fucking anything. It's so anything where there's like multiple variants or brands. I mean, find it with fucking snow machining. There's Ski-Doo. There's Polaris. There's chess. There's checkers. There's fucking.
People are like, I don't think right Ski-Doo or Ford and Chevy.
Yeah, Ford and Chevy. You know, there's people that.
Interesting when you like put it that way. That it's like when you break tribalism down like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can essentially find it in every facet of society, more or less. It's just funny that
I remember as a kid though, like I remember being not made fun of, but I remember being confused as to why I don't know why kids would be mean to each other. That was my first I had friends. You know, when you start dealing with weird emotions as your kid, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. You know, I have a friend, but then I'm friends with them when just me and them, but then there are other friends here, and then they're both dicks to me, right? Or then I'd befriend him, but then sometimes we'd be dick to the other kid.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got this constant, thing going on where you're like, it's such a weird...
It is weird.
It has to work itself out, but it's part of, growing up. But I remember having that observation was just, I was always like, why would they waste their time doing this? Why can't we just all get along? Or I remember, in 5th, 6th grade when all the kids were kind of we're going to start acting cool, and 7th, 8th. But I was conscientiously, and even in high school, I remember conscientiously I'm going to keep playing. That was I remember it in my head because that was the transformation because it was playing as a kid, then skiing became this playing, but then skiing became the playing.
Yeah.
So
what everyone else was doing.
Yeah, I'm I don't fucking care. You're gonna go think you're doing these cool adult activities. Oh, you're so cool. You know, you're going. I go to dances, and I did get into it. I wasn't a complete antisocial. I was completely social, but I had an outside drive.
You had your thing, yeah.
Yeah, and I just remember because it was kind of an escapism from that. That's what it was. I remember it as a coping mechanism because the mountains you're just by yourself. It's just you and this bliss without any fucking outside interference telling you whatever.
Yeah, there's nothing more
Well, sorry.
No, go ahead.
But then think about how you you learn your powers in the mountains and your self-preservation and
Well, yeah, I know, and it's funny because not very many people that don't do the shit that we do. Yeah, because you go out there, you're not so many people in their average day-to-day life. You're completely safe. All someone that lives in San Francisco. They're not in danger. There's always a way to get home. It's never fucking cold.
There's no challenge.
I mean, I guess you might get stabbed by a homeless dude, but that'll happen anywhere. Where you go out in the mountains, not only are you not, I mean, not that you're in peril, but you're at the mercy of the world. Then you're not in control, and you have to, like you said, have your wits about you, understand self-preservation. Yeah. It's very humbling, and at the same time, it's incredibly isolating.
It's humbling and empowering.
And people wouldn't understand. It's you're just out there hiking around the woods. Isn't it boring? But I think being out in the mountains by yourself is some of the most exciting shit you can do, even though essentially you're just walking around in silence. It's the most, I don't know.
Or climbing a mountain by yourself.
Especially in the winter. This most sensory depriving.
By yourself?
It's the most sensory depriving thing. The snow muffles the fucking sound of everything. Everything's white, very monotone.
Think about, and that's where I became critical of it later, because it's such an empowering activity. I'm doing these things, but it's super first world. It's we've got the luxury to be doing this. This is an extreme luxury that we've got the luxury time to be fucking around in the mountains all the fucking time to find ourselves. And it's then when I kind of realized I being critical, I'm we're versus I've talked about this before. Armies rolling into town, they're gonna fucking kill everyone. We have to save the women and children and get our guns and go over here now. Douche, your life is now at this level versus this foo-foo floating around sort of thing. And yeah. Well, I was thinking of a story as far as being dressed funny. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but I was pretty similar a fucking outfit when I was in town. Yeah, I was 30, looking grubby, just general grubbiness. And I went to the Diamond Center, and I was kind of I'm 40 now. I was probably 32, 33. Because I've been in Gerber for 3 years, because we've been gone. I grew up here, whatever. Came back, bought a house, had a kid, and it was go mode, survival mode, doing construction, but making poor, not very much money. I barely wasn't doing what I was fucking doing. I was in my career, I had no career path, and my skiing was officially I'm not making money off skiing. I never made money off skiing. Giving up the dream.
Wasting my time. Yeah.
Yeah. I was
because when you're in survival mode, you're not having fun. You're just you're just grinding it out. All you're thinking about is how do I survive? There's so many minutes in the day. I have to pay my bills.
Well, in my 20s, I had no kids, so I could do that being poor as my own person.
Even when you're poor in your 20s, you still have time to
Yeah.
go do shit because you can only work so many hours in the day.
But this is just a general, like, I gotta make a fucking change. And I remember driving town, and I was like, oh, I should go to those fucking recruitment places in the Diamond Center. Just to ask them, because I had this fucking stupid vision of, like...
Like the Army recruitment?
Yeah.
Place? Yeah.
It's like, I'm not signing up for the Army. I was thinking about the Mountain 210th Division.
Yeah.
Being a helicopter flyer. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
I could fucking do that. And I was like 32, 33. And I had thought of it, actually. Fred Bull, the guy I said had died a long time ago, he was doing that. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, yeah, like, that'd be a cool job. Like, I'll jump into that, right? And anyway, I go to the Air Force people, and they're like, yeah, if you're over 24, we don't want to talk to you. I'm like, okay. And they literally do this. Go talk to the Marines. I'm like, okay.
Marines probably don't mind. If you're
And, like,
32, they probably just told you to
yeah,
get the
so they-
fuck out.
I was like, yeah, what's going on? And then like, yeah, no, you're too. Like, go talk to this guy. We don't want to talk to you. And as I'm doing, I'm wearing like a grubby vest, Carhartts, a cap, and like a beard, and I was fucking pouring it and grinding it out with my fucking Ford Ranger's a beat up piece of shit. I'm making like 10, 12, 15 bucks an hour, like all the time, 60 hours a week, just whatever stupidity. And like I needed like some sort of answer. Anyway, what happened? I ended up in the Army recruiter. And I was like, how's it going? I'm like, how's it going? And then there's the guy sitting in there, and then there's another guy, we'll call him, his name was Jimmy. I think his real name was Jimmy. On crutches. Jimmy was young, probably your age, 22, 23, on crutches with his girlfriend. And I kind of came in and interrupted him. He's like, oh, come on, sit down. How's it going? And I'm just like, oh, I'm just curious about what's going on, what's going on around here. Like,
Yeah.
kind of real vague, but obviously just a funny scenario. And I was super baked at the time, which... I don't know what that inspired my going in the first place. And I'm in there deep now. But I'm rolling with it. I'm like being brave, just kind of fucking just put myself through a weird conversation. So I'm like, okay, so what's the deal? Like, I don't want to sign up. But like, I'm trying to,
Thinking about
I'm
it.
perfect. Yeah, like this is what they want. Someone who's like lost in life. Which was ironic because 10 years earlier, I was super hypercritical of anyone who was fucking lost and going to the Army. Like, you fucking don't know what you're doing. I'm fucking skiing and climbing mountains. Like, why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
That was my attitude, 110%. Unless your 110% objective for you was climbing skiing mountains, I had zero time for you. Like, just zero. I was fucking super dick in that regard. But I was best friends with you if that's what we were doing, right? Because it was just what I was doing. 10 years later, that thing's not working anymore, and I'm just like now in this fucking recruiter office, and he's like, you want to be a hero? Like, I remember him saying that. This is Jimmy. Do you want to be a hero like Jimmy? And I look over at Jimmy, and he's on his crutches, and Jimmy didn't look like a hero. He looked beat down. Like, he wouldn't make eye contact. He was kind of like, "Brr," and he looked like kind of like PTSD. He'd done something had gone wrong, and he was not stoked.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there, and the girlfriend's there, and they're silent, and he didn't even say anything. I'm like, oh, yeah, huh? He's like, Jimmy's a hero. Da-da-da-da-da. He's like, how would you fill out this questionnaire about what you want to do? Or whatever, just give your specs, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going through it, and I was just like, have you felony? No. Have you done this, done that? I'm like, no. And then it was like, you done LSD or any extreme drugs? And I was just like, no. Like, no. I lied, said no. I was like, I got a lot, I'm just going to say no. Then it was like, have you done hallucinogenic mushrooms? Real specific questions.
Wow.
And I was like, no. And I lied again. And then it gets to weed. It's like, have you smoked weed?
As you're sitting there stoned.
Ever. Like, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, well, fuck. I'm not just going to lie. Like, I'm not going to lie on this one. And I was like, so, and I even asked him, I'm like, so this weed one here, like, keeps getting out. Like, it's the only one that keeps getting out, and then I'll leave it out for a couple days, and like eats bugs and grass, and then yeah, it's going.
So anyway, weed in the Army.
Oh, so yeah, it's taking a questionnaire, and it's asking. I was like, okay, guy, like this weed one here, what do I write here? I was kind of like letting on, like, hey, I smoke weed, and he's like, okay, I understand that. People are young and make mistakes, that's all right, but just keep in mind, if you lie to us, if you lie and we find out, you're in big trouble. So if you get in and we find out you were lying and like, you're in trouble. So I'm like, oh my God, like, okay, so I'm not, I'm not gonna lie. And like, he's like, there's a number, you can write down this number, and like, I can't tell you what it is, but you just write down, tell me. I'm like, okay, and I'm like calculating so I start calculating in my head.
Like how many times you smoke weed or whatever?
I'm like 3 times a day times 300 times a year times 300 days a year times 10 years. I'm like, wow, that's fucking like 5,000 times or whatever, 10,000. And I was like, whoa, that's a big number. And in my head, this is like quick calculation. I'm like, oh my God. So I cut it in half, cut it in half, cut it in half again, and I wrote down 1,537. That was my number. And right then, as I'm like, yeah, the jig's up, because I'm a fucking idiot. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, I gotta get out of here. And I knew, I was like, this is my fucking...
But you already lied about all the other shit.
I know, I was like, I gotta get, this is my, I'm telling the truth. And I'm still cutting in half 10 times. I should have wrote like 10,000.
She just wrote all.
But I wrote 1,530, I just remember that number.
He just like shit
And
himself.
I like give it to him over here, and I'm just sitting there, like, okay, it's time to go. And I'm in my head, I'm like, and I get counting. Literally, I swear, his like little cowlick went ding, and he's like, burr, and his little mustache, he had a little mustache and slick hair. And he's like, burr. He's like, what's this? I'm like, what? He's like, this, and he's like, got the paper. And he's like, what is this? I'm like, about the number of times I smoked weed, I think. I'm like, just a rough calculation. And he's just like, takes it, and he's like, you can go now. I'm like, oh, I'm like, really? I'm like, why? And he's like, you have proven. Now he's mad. He's like, you have proven that you are not good at listening to rules and knowing and respecting go now, thanks. And he like takes it and he's just like, boom, like, done. I'm like, okay. And then I got and just left. I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And then I was all paranoid because he had the paper, had my social security number on it, everything. I was like, oh my god, this dude knows who I am, exactly. And I like literally ran out to the parking lot. Like, what am I doing? It was a total like, I could have easily just signed my life away if he like one slip talked me somehow and I'm fucking just dumb. Oh my god. I would be just getting out of the army right now. No, a couple years ago. But it would have been horrible. Bad idea. But it might have been the best idea ever.
Did I say I almost joined the army?
I think you were...
My car accident stopped me?
I remember you talking about it.
I was a step further. I was going to sign on the fucking dotted line. I'd met this recruiter a couple of times, and I wanted to be an Army
I
Ranger.
remember you telling me you were about to.
I wanted to be an Army Ranger. I wanted to be this like badass, like, that was literally the last time I had ran, was when I was like, I had worked all summer, and I'd kind of been a stoner, but I didn't hardly fucking drink. I was like getting in really good shape. And I had actually lied about all my drug shit. They weren't nearly as harsh about it. Like, I just told them I hadn't done anything, and they believed me. And I wanted to be an Army Ranger, and he was trying to get me to do, like, it wasn't infantry, it was, like, be a forward observer. Like, a guy who jumped out of planes, but then just, like, called in airstrikes, and I was like, I don't know if I could do that. I want to be like, essentially Rambo is what I wanted to be. And so I was literally down in Girdwood watching my sister, and he literally calls me, and he was like, all right, I have the contract for you to be the Army Ranger, blah, 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 you gotta get in Anchorage, you gotta sign it right now. And I was like, oh, shit. So I was literally busting back in Anchorage, and this lady fucking pit maneuvered me right there outside the gas station.
I didn't know that.
I was literally driving back into town to sign on the dotted fucking...
Wow.
And I fucking got in the wreck, broke 4 ribs, cracked my skull, couldn't do anything.
Whoa. You like call him back from the hospital? You're like, yeah.
No, I ghosted him for like 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, because I was all fucked up. I had like a massive head injury. Like,
I really actually fell off. You fucking were fucked. So he was like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, no. So then I finally called him back. And yeah, that's essentially what he was like. I like explained the whole thing. And he was like, you still should have reached out. It's kind of the same thing. He's like, you're proven you're not reliable. I can't depend on you. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Fucking blow me. I just like hung up.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Probably might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't know.
Well, I did the same thing. Not the same thing. It was a totally different thing, but real similar to almost like dodging a bullet.
Yeah.
It was a couple of years later, so everyone, what's the dream job in Girdwood? Like, for a lot, it's like, be a firefighter. You're a firefighter in town. Like, lots of them are here, and respect. It's a hard, crazy job. Whatever. And I wanted in. Like, it's a bros club thing. It's a cool, good paying
Those guys are cool over
job. Yeah, everyone's cool. I know half of them. They're great.
Yeah, they're great.
And I wanted in the club. I was like, I can do this. And I had the class, bro mentality. I can do this. I'm fucking tough. Da da da. So I did I'm doing construction. So this was 4 years ago, maybe.
Was this when you and I were? No, this was right after. I
think it was after that. It was
because I remember I bumped into you in the day. Like, you were talking. You were like, you're going to be a firefighter. I'm like,
yeah, because I was working with you. I had just come back from Hawaii, and then it was a couple years after that. And
yeah, no, it was because I bumped into you in the day lodge. I hadn't seen you for like a year, and I asked if you still smoked weed. You're like, no, I don't smoke weed. I'm going to be a firefighter. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
I was.
But yeah, I don't remember that anyway.
I remember that. I remember being super the next time. Yeah.
So I did the whole thing. EMT class basically in that job. They teach you the EMT class.
Yeah.
And as you're teaching it, they're telling you the whole time, like, you're gonna be in class, but there's random firefighters who are there, who are like, kind of not bro down, but they're observers. They're kind of bored. They're on the clock, but they're hanging out. There's someone teaching. Then there's like this guy in the corner, whatever. They're hanging out. And then as you're doing tests and stuff, these random big chiefs guys will come around, or you're in their scene. Yeah. And like, we're the recruits, and they're coming to check out the new recruits. And then she would say, she's teaching the class, and she would be like, just so you know, every time you're here and things you're doing, you're being watched. Part of the recruitment process was just getting through the EMT class. And I was like, okay, and everyone's a bunch of bros. Like, yeah, we can do that and everything, and you're sitting with people for, it was like it went on for like fucking 2 or 3 months. Like in the winter, I was commuting to town like 2 days a week, down to near Merrill Field, that station way down there. And I'm like, I'm doing this. This is what I'm doing. And then did the class, and then did the practical, and what a couple fuck ups I did. One of the biggest ones. So here's something that contributed maybe to me not getting in. Like I remember telling like I was at work that day with Sean Heiner. It was like
Our old boss.
It was later that year. It was with Sean. It was the same. It was that after fall when you guys went off. That's when that was.
Yeah.
You guys had worked and took off that fall.
And I went flunked off.
And then I went and kept working with Sean for a bit more. And anyway, that's when I started taking the class. Anyway, yeah, that makes sense.
That's right.
He was at work one day and he was trying to jigsaw through the floor doing something. He cut himself. Bad, like just a cut. I'd be like, oh, wrap it up. But he was like super melodramatic. Like, oh, he was all faint. In my head, I'm like, stop being a fucking
pussy
little bitch. Like, but he was obviously was affected by blood. Like that's his thing, is to be affected. Like, oh my god, I'm so.
Yeah, no, I remember him saying that he didn't like blood.
Yeah, and he was like fucked up, and I'm like, oh fuck. And in my head, I'm like, this is why it's good I'm not a firefighter. Basically, is the story. As I told this story to the class, that's pretty funny in retrospect. We're like, I'm like, yeah, today, dude cut his finger, and he was super fucked because he was doing the symptoms we've been talking about. He was like this, and he was like that, and like, blah blah blah, and I literally just didn't want to go to the fucking hospital. I didn't want to drive him to the hospital, and I thought he could drive himself. We're like we're in Anchorage, a block from the hospital, working on Northern Lights. Like literally, there's the hospital, Providence. We're like right up, and it was like a fucking someone who worked at BP. We're right in that corner of fucking town. He could drove 1 block to the hospital. And I was about to get off work. It's like 3:30, and I'm fucking done going back to Girdwood. I don't want to go sit in the ER. And I'm like, is he fine? And I look at this. It's just a little fucking cut. I would fucking have electric tape on it, like back at work.
Yeah, my hands are full of scars.
That was my objective observation. Anyway, and then the cleacher, so I'm telling the story. I'm like, yeah, he was kind of fucked up. And then, he went to the hospital. She's like, oh, that's what she asked. Did you go to the hospital with him? I was like, no. And that was like, she's like, why not? I'm like, he seemed fine. Like, that's an alarm bell for them. Like, I'm supposed to be like with him, fucking helping him. And I wasn't. And like, which was my attitude that had been years in the mountains. It was kind of like a super libertarian individual attitude. Like, talking about being super obsessed with skiing. If you couldn't keep up, you're not hanging out. But even within the hanging out process, if anything was going wrong, like...
You have to go take care of yourself.
Yeah, take care of yourself. Go back to the car. I'm not waiting for it. I don't care. Like...
Well, yeah, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, like a mini army.
Well, because even, like, skiing around here with your buddies, like, I remember, like, you're skiing with your group of friends, like, if you got tired and wanted to wait, like, your friends just fucking left you.
Yeah.
Like, there's no waiting around for a slow, weak link.
Well, in certain groups there is, like, the types of groups. Every group's different, that's the thing. You go backcountry with different groups, you're, like, sussing out what's their approach to the mountains, because everyone's got their own approach.
Well, I grew up anyway, it was like, keep up or fuck off. That's kind of the way we did it, so I think...
Well, which led, now that leads to, one point it led to disaster. It made me think of a side story. Was when we were going up big avalanche day, or I shouldn't say big. It was a big avalanche in my life. It was like me, Abe, Aaron, Joni, which was Abe's girlfriend, and someone else, a fifth person. Who the fuck was it? I don't remember. You go up over Sunnyside, Snow Machine, and you go down the other side, and the Big Chief is that big mountain at the back of Seattle Creek.
Yeah.
You see it from over on the Stewart. It's a big fucking mountain.
Yeah.
And we didn't have sleds, and we go up and over and up, and as we're going up, we're climbing the south sunny side. You're on this briny ridge. It's like 3 hours to get there, 3 hours going. And we're getting up there, and I'm like in the lead. And
you're on sleds, or you just...
We're skiing. Yeah, no sleds at all.
Skiing.
And we're charging. We're on mission mode. Like, we're going fast to get to this mountain. If you're going to be fucking slow, you wait there. We're going to ski down. We'll come back. We're not waiting. Just like... and then Abe's girlfriend, she was always super like, I can hang out with the dudes, whatever. Super kind of aggro, like... type. But then I didn't know this. So this is where all the information was. Like, we're going up, we get to the top. So this is the dumbest way to ski a mountain. You come up the backside of it, and we're skiing the wicked north face. No one, you couldn't even see it the whole way up. Don't even see the run we're gonna do. Never seen it in my life. Like from the Seward Highway, I've seen it for like 10 miles over here. Like, oh yeah, there's a mountain, but a big 3,000 foot, 2,000 foot just north face. I'm like, all right, we get to the top, and I didn't know that Joni had been crying the whole way up. Like, crying, like, I'm scared, I don't know what to do. Like, having issues.
Oh, shit.
As we're hiking the ridge, but they're hundreds of yards back, I don't hear about any of it. Abe's telling her to fucking chill out. Like, what do you want? You're here. But Abe's always been with us, but now his girlfriend's kind of raining on his parade, right?
Yeah, you can't ditch your girlfriend.
You can't ditch your hardcore. Boom, we get to the top of the mountain. We're all there. I had no idea any of this was going on. I'm like, had been at the, you know how it is, you also get to the top of the mountain 5 minutes ahead of everyone. You're fucking get ready, you're cold, you want to go. I'm not going to stand around and wait now, but you guys took 10 minutes to get here, now I'm waiting for you. That whole thing. Which, when you say it objectively to someone who's like not some sort of ski person, I'm going to stop that and start it again so it doesn't cut out on us. Look how smart I am. Down the side subject. Man, in memory.
So, top of the mountain, wait for
it. Let me finish this beer and I'll crack another one.
Yeah, you gotta catch up.
What we should probably do is do a shotgun for the Viking. I gotta drive home. You'll be fine.
I'm fine.
Here, I'm gonna let. What we'll do is I'll probably let you finish because I only have about half this one. I'll probably let you finish it, but I'll shotgun.
Oh, gotcha. Alright. Okay, side story. No, wait. Should we shotgun first and then I'll finish the story? Yeah.
Are we gonna be able to remember? Okay, so you're at the top of the mountain with Abe and his girlfriend. Here, I'll prep this for us.
Oh my gosh. Here, get the top a little started.
No, bro. I went to college.
Oh my god, I haven't done a shotgun in ages.
I haven't either. I'll probably throw it up.
While you're doing that, I'll tell you about the Canon. So I looked up, you know how it stopped filming on us, right?
Yeah.
I looked it up. Why is this fucker, and I couldn't adjust, I was trying to figure out how to adjust the record time. As it turns out, they make them stop at an arbitrary time on purpose because it's not a camcorder. It's a fucking, they want you to go buy a camcorder.
Those fuckers.
So it's a fucking, and they all do it. All the manufacturers have agreed to do it as a sort of move to like, do that, make you buy a fucking camcorder. And you can't adjust the film time. Oh my god. So
we're doing this for the Viking?
Shotgun for the Viking.
Rest in peace, buddy. That sucks.
Oh my god, is this gonna kill me? Do we do Mark Set Go? How do we do it?
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh my god. Ugh. Oh, that was tasty.
It's all foam.
I think I left some in there. Ugh. Woo! Wow.
Thanks, Jake.
That was great.
That was great.
That was refreshing.
That was refreshing. Shit. I haven't shotgunned a fucking PBR since.
So we're at the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we gotta drop in. I'm gonna go down. So and it says north face, and I had the video camera, and I was gonna go down to this little peak. So I was gonna ski the face, go to this peak, northward like half a mile, and there's a little nub of a perfect mountain that I was gonna like ski to and film backwards, right? So I'm like, we had no radios. We've been using radios previously in the year, and they're fucking super handy.
Yeah.
Be like,
Nice.
remember little talkabouts when they first came out? We're like, fuck you, you know. So I drop it, and it's steep. It's kind of like the same feeling of, you know, like the top of the knuckles. You know, you look off the top of, you're at Mighty Might, you look into the fucking knuckles, like, that's fucking steep.
Fuck am I
Not that steep though, not quite that steep, but steep enough where you're like, this is fucking steep.
It gets your attention.
Yeah, and we're like, oh, and I'm like, I don't know where I'm even going. And I made like 3 turns in. I'm like, that's getting steeper. There's one of those like, just perfect. And all I can see is like 50 feet and then the valley bottom, one of those. And I'm like, I'm sensing I need to go left. And I juke left. And as I'm going left, it's pitching steeper. Now it's like, you know, hand touching, elbow touching, like, yeah, here we, you know, steep. And I got over the cliff and I could see, you know, you gotta work in there to see the run. Like, oh, there it is. And I got way over left and it was like a nice chute that kind of went through. I ski it, and as I'm coming out the bottom, it's all shaded as pow, it was great. And it's big, long, like fucking great run. But I'm coming out the bottom, I kind of juke and trying to, you know, be avalanche wary. You know, I did a little side ski cut at the top, but then down the bottom, this huge slab just like breaks loose from the whole like lower flank. It goes running, and I'm down here thinking, this another one goes over there. I'm like, holy shit! Like, and no one can see me at all. I'm like, and I'm in the safe zone. I'm like, holy shit! Like, I gotta get out, you know, motor out the bottom and get through it all.
and like, you know, I was like, you know, that's all I'm saying. Like, holy shit.
That's all you say.
And like, down, I go, way out, and so it's all north shaded, right? There's no sun on it. And I get out back into the sun, and I'm like way back in this little knob, and I turn back and look, and I'm like, oh no, like I could see the slabs where they broke loose in the snow type, and I could see the rest of the whole slope was the same snow type. It was like a shellacked kind of windskin, like drum, you know, like a ice cream cone with a chocolate on it. It was exactly like that, like, and I could literally see slabs, and I'm like, oh, like danger, but I can't tell anything. I'm literally like, oh, okay, pure death. And the whole mountain, as it turns out, looking back at it, I'd come in and juked over through a little chute goes this way. Good thing, because it was a huge face, then 500-foot cliffs, and then huge face. Like, it's like a 2,000-foot face of gnar. And I'm like, that's pure gnar, pure avalanche death.
So if you had gone that way, you'd have been fucked.
I would have been fucked.
The avalanche would have taken you right off the cliff.
As you'll soon find out. As I go down and I come back and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, okay. Here we go, filming all my friends die. And like, so I'm filming. Aaron's coming down and he zippers right off the top. I could see my tracks going over. He literally just skied the hanging slab. Fucking so brave. I can't even believe they were doing it. I look down, I'm like, dude, I'm not going this way, I'm going this way. Which might lead, anyway, I'm not making any speculation, the decision process, but how we got there in the first place, you could speculate. But anyway, Aaron fucking zippers it perfectly, but he's then in the 500-foot cliffs, and it was one of those where it was like it wasn't rock cliffs, it was shellacked rime ice.
Yeah.
So there was no, it wasn't immediately evident that it was cliffs.
It was just 500 feet.
It was just 500 feet of vertical gnar rime, and Aaron is stuck. He's skiing and he's stuck, and I'm filming now long enough.
So he stops, like
he stopped.
Yeah.
He's in the fucking cliff, and I'm like zoomed in on him, zoomed out, but the shade, I'm filming in the shade, but the sun is coming right over the peak of the mountain, so it's fucking with my film.
Yeah.
It's a bad shot. Like, that's why I'm trying to stay zoomed in on him, because it's ignoring the sun.
Yeah,
and I can see him in the shade, and he's just like, and I'm watching him. I'm like, oh, there's Aaron. He's stuck, and I could see it was gnar. I'm like, I don't know. That was the excitement. I was like, how's Aaron gonna get out of this? And he's like working this way, working that, and like he's like sidestepping up. And, like, it's a shit show now.
He's trying to get up, back over.
He's trying to get somewhere. He's like survival mode, and I'm zoomed in tight on him. He's this big in the fucking, and I'm watching him. Boom! I hear a little a scream. I was like, what the fuck was that? And the camera, unfortunately, as I zoom back, it fucking the sun fucked it up, and then it wouldn't refocus.
Yeah.
It fucking it was all blurry, because in the meanwhile, Aaron's stuck. Abe and the girlfriend are at the top, and it was Ryan Morrill. That was the fifth person, and she's crying, wanting to go. I need to go. I want to drop in. I'm tired of waiting. Like totally pulling like a whatever maneuver. And so he's like, fine, go. Like, and Aaron hadn't popped out the bottom yet, right? So he's gone for 10 minutes. He's like, they can't see him. She's panicking. Whatever's happening, they send her. She skis right next to his tracks.
Oh God!
Boom! The whole top face slabs off. And like, because at this point I'd zoom back, and I put the camera away because I can't see. And I'm like, oh my God! So the whole face goes. No, I didn't put the camera away yet because I was able to zoom in on Aaron. No, it was real. I'm trying to remember what the fucking footage was. I haven't even seen that in fucking ages. I could see Aaron sidestepping up out of the... He could see it coming because the slide was like flying off the cliffs, but widening as it's coming towards him. There was like this 3 seconds of like... He's like, oh shit! He scoot, and it widened, and just sucked him straight off like, poof!
He gets caught!
Oh yeah, totally. Just enveloped and gone off the 500-foot cliffs. So she rode off the top straight off. He then was sucked into it, and I'm like, oh shit. So then I throw the camera in the back, and like I just had it. I was in a good spot because I was kind of above them now. The whole thing slides down, and I'm like already traversing over, like thinking I'm like trying to get my beacon out as I'm gonna go save him or whatever. And right as I get to the debris pile on the side of it, Aaron literally, and it's, you know, it's packed 10 foot tall. It's like a whole full pile of snow. He just like, he's on the edge, and he just like, she stood up, poof, all covered in, like,
how did I get
waist deep.
Fucking buried?
I don't know. He was just like in it, but he just stood up. I remember there's nothing there as I was coming up to it, you know, and he was all just covered in snow. Looked like he'd aged 100 years, you know. And I was like, are you all right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And so now I'm looking for Joni. I don't know where she is. And I'm like doing the hasty search. I think I had my beacon out. I don't remember like the actual beacon part. I must have had it out. I think I was doing a hasty. I think I was looking for anything. Because I found him so easy. I was like, I don't even remember. I go down the face, and basically it was one of these slabs that like the debris pile, but like it pushed and it was starting to do that freight train sort of thing where it pushes out the valley because it was kind of warmish time of year. And I get down, and there she is sitting on the front of the pile of snow with her feet literally like in the fresh powder, like in front of the debris pile, right? So it was like as big as, you know, it was like a pile up like as wide as a shed, but like a fucking freight train. And she was right at the very front of it, just sitting there, like looking at me, like sitting on the cow catcher, right? And she's like, I'm like, are you all right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, like, great.
Let's go.
Let's go. We gotta get out of here. You know, but her skis, she lost her skis. How did it work? She lost her skis. No, she lost one and Aaron lost one. So they gave the skis to her, and then Aaron had to walk out.
Oh God, but that sucked.
Anyway, it's a shit show.
Jesus, like fucking goosebumps. That's some of my worst fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
Buried in an avalanche has to be my worst nightmare.
Well, you just be mad at yourself. That's the thing that comes down to it. Like, it's all your decisions that lead you anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere that you could ever be doing. You're talking about the rioters. Like, you don't want to fucking be by police. Don't go to the fucking town square.
If you don't want to die in an avalanche, don't go ski in the mountains.
Yes, exactly. Same thing.
Well,
and that's where I'm at with it. That's the problem. Is like, it's so easy. It's so ingrained for me to do it. I know to get up the mountains. I love the powder. Then now I'm kind of in this numbering of like, I'm going to be so fucking pissed if I came to get another run, another drop in the bucket for all the runs I've done.
And that's what fucking ends your life.
And that's what gets you in the end. I'm like, I gotta be fucking, because it'll be some random little thing. You know, it'll be the one that surprises you.
Yeah.
That's how you fucking get because you got surprised. Mm-hmm. But your decision still led you there. So, I'm just, well, and it reminds me of like, so that's the point, the Viking, he survived so many fucking crazy runs. And he was always kind of old school. So talking about, you know, progressives and conservatives in politics, within the skiing world, the people are more, I don't know what to say, how you describe how it's maybe a loose parallel, but people's approach to avalanche danger. Viking had he would ski all sorts of gnarly shit in gnarly conditions. You know, a lot of people go and they like don't even leave the parking lot, sort of thing. So he survived a lot, but
in the end, it was
like fishing, like something, you know. It was, we had no idea when that cut us off. Whatever. But yeah, the adventure of like, and it's not about the fish, it's about the adventure. But I don't want the adventure. I've been on so many fucking adventures. And just the whole thing of like, we're going on, I'm like, I just can't do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it enough. Like a 5-gallon, I always describe it like a 5-gallon bucket. Every drop was an adventure or an extreme danger or an I'm like,
it's all full.
It's full. And now it's just like adding to this 5-gallon bucket these drops. I'm like, oh, I've got to fucking.
You already have the whole bucket of
yeah.
experiences. You know, really.
And I'm like. And
the risk isn't, like, you're not gaining anything new, you know?
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to get faster. I'm not going to go bigger. I'm not going to get more character from some gnarly experience.
You're not going to find some fucking line you haven't done before.
Yeah, like you could start creating, that's the thing though, you could start creating those things. Like in my head, I'm like, oh, I haven't done that mountain. I haven't done the north side of that mountain. I haven't done this. You start making up things to do.
But then as you start venturing out, especially in the mountains, you're creating a lot more risk. Like you start venturing out spots you don't know.
Exactly, and you're just chasing the same game. And it reminds me of the guy, Burke was his name? An older dude. He was the same age as kind of the Viking. I don't remember. Burke. He was a ski coach. You might not. It was like 3 years ago. He died up at Hatcher Pass in a big avalanche. He was known. I can't remember the fuck his name. But he was older. He was classic. Where it was one of those where like you imagine to be like, okay, the kids are out of school. I'm in my 50s, 60s. I can just go backcountry. That's in my head. But be safe about it.
Yeah.
And by now I'm so old and safe. I know, you know. But he was old and safe and fucking died. And you're like, oh. And yeah. I don't really want to die.
I had a fucking ski coach back in Montana. He died digging a fucking avalanche pit. Like, digging the fucking pit just to see if it was safe. There's some freak. I mean, he was in his 30s, but I mean, he'd taken all the Abbey courses, super safe.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, he was just on a weird little slope.
I don't exactly know it was in Montana, but yeah, I guess he was digging it on a weird slope or something, and just fucking whole thing came down and killed him. Broke his neck in the thing, and that was it. I don't know, so that's the thing. Like, you can offset the risk as much as you want and take all these precautions, but at the end of the day, I mean, like, if it's going to get...
Well, then there's the people who would go out into the country just to dig a pit. Like, they're riding... Their what's the word? Level of risk is low in that regard.
Very
like,
low.
I'm just going to go out and I'm going to dig a pit and I'm going to look for a reason to go home. Which is kind of the reason what you were saying about earlier about going out in the mountains by yourself. Like, so if you go backcountry... hey Riley, do you want to go up this ridge? What should we? You make a discussion of where you're going. It's kind of part of your thing. Like, let's go here, go there. We're gonna ski this run. Go there.
Do this, do that.
As you get there, the variables come up. The wind comes up. The snow does this. There's a weird thing. And you have your running like monologue.
Yeah. Like, oh, I don't like to look at that.
As the
Let's go over
variables
here,
happen,
look at
and
this.
you kind of like talk your way into it. You know, some more than others, obviously. If you're going up some obvious thing, you're like, oh, we're just going there. Whatever. There's no talk. But if it's some big unknown mountain, and versus going by yourself, and like that's what I like about going by myself, because I've done actually some fairly gnarly stuff, but the discussion is just with you and no one else.
Yeah.
And what I find myself doing is like constantly finding for reasons to turn around, looking for reasons to turn around.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like this, and that's a bad idea, I'm going to turn around, and then second, is it really? It's not. Okay, you can keep going.
Yeah.
Kind of like trying to talk myself out of it the whole time. And it works. I mean, I think it works. But it's such a frivolous activity. Like, to even talk about the debate of, like, it's such a obscure activity.
It really is. You start to think about it.
Yeah, in the world, even of all of America, in the mountain culture, you know, people, I like skiing versus I go backcountry versus I go backcountry solo in the dark, and you know, right?
Yeah.
It's like a fringe activity.
It really is.
I mean, it's akin to, like, you know, there's Alex Honnold climbing goddamn El Cap. That's insane, you know?
Yeah.
But it's all different. Or people go surf Jaws and the fucking this and that. Like, that's insane. People's different contexts. But I remember it was a funny habit I have, because I think about this, was every first of the year, I'm like, I'm going backcountry the first time. I had the habit for 4 or 5 years of going to some super gnar, first day of the year. I don't know, I managed to do it like 5 or 6 times in a row, like November 5th, going backcountry for the first time, going up this mountain, up that mountain, like gnarly, like boot back up here, to, you know, just gnarly, like as if you're picking off for some perceived high point from the previous season.
Yeah.
You know, this is a perpetual progression, always rocking the progression, and you know, and then doing it, whatever. And then this last one was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, I was going up Jewel. I was by myself, and I just remember Girdwood had partied. It was a huge party night. The Led Zeppelin was playing. All Girdwood was fucking hungover. And I was like all proud of myself. I got up at 8 on a Saturday to go. I'm going to go up there and get ahead of the crowd. You know the 10 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
start. I'm like, I'm going to get ahead of everyone. You go up to Jewel. And you go up, I don't know if you've ever been up Jewel?
Mm-mm.
Like you go up Crow Pass, almost to the pass itself, then you turn right and you circle up. Let's start this and start it again. Yeah, I got to look up and see how long this actual thing will record. There's a normal route you take. You kind of circle around the north side and come back up. But long time ago, I don't know, 2002, me and a couple friends climbed the south there's a south ridge. Like normally you circle up this nice face, but there's a south ridge which is more direct, but it's steep and gnarly. And we did it in the dark. We left the parking lot at like 7 o'clock at night. We're like, we're gonna go ski Jewel. Like, okay. Like we had a habit of it. Me and that guy Fred Bull I'm telling you about, we had a habit, because he worked construction, we were fucking, you know, trying to ski all the time. So we did a lot of night skiing. Like leaving the parking lot at 8 o'clock at night by the headlamp.
Jesus.
In retrospect is crazy.
That's very crazy. That's insane.
And I used to do it by myself. I would go from the parking lot. Like I've been to the top of half these mountains by myself in the pitch black.
That's very scary.
It's stupid. Yeah, it's a risky activity. So what did we do? We went up. We're like, we're gonna climb Jewel. So we're like, let's climb the South Ridge. You know, we're getting no. It wasn't pitch black in the parking lot. It was dark. It was getting dark, and we're at like the Cole leading in. Dark is like right there, and we start going up the ridge. And we have headlamps, and I remember. Was the snow like? I don't remember if we had ski boots on. We must have had ski boots on. There must have been snow. I don't even remember. But the point was that your headlamp only illuminates this far.
Yeah,
and you just see this hold and that hold, and you go, and you just keep going because you can see. That's all you can see. You can't see the 2,000-foot depth, right? That's there as you're like skimming around the shit. And so I'm like, So this day, 3 years ago, I'm like, I'm gonna go up Jewel. Oh, I'm gonna go up the South Ridge. I did that before. It was easy, you know. Like, yeah, I remember Spirit was pretty easy, and I get going up to the cold. It's like a steely, cold, gray day, like one of those hard, gray, not windy, but just cold,
cold
like
and gray.
20 degrees, yeah. And I'm by myself. It's like 9 in the morning now. I'm like, I'm gonna go up this, and the ridge is kind of like, you're looking at it, you're like, trying to judge the scale of things, and I had the ski boots on. I had put the boots on, so that's the thing about Jewel. You might leave the parking lot with your shoes on, and you get up to the snow and you put your boots on. I get up there and I put my boots on to the Cole, and they're frozen, and so dude, it's such a horrible activity. I'm like, what am I doing? You know, put these frozen ass boots on. Now I'm gonna go, and I got the skis on the backpack, And I'm start going up this ridge, and it's rocky, hard frozen rock. Not even snow on it, but like, you know how ski boots are, all slidery. And I'm like getting going. I'm like, okay, because you know how you go up is easier, but coming down is a fucking pain in the ass if it's technical. And I'm like, keeping track of like, oh, if I get up this, am I gonna be able to get down it? Yeah, okay, I got it. And I go to another one. I'm like, I get up this? Yeah, probably. Okay, I'm gonna go. And I kind of did like 3 little steps, but within those 3 little cruxes up the ridge, I was now like rocking the like 300-foot drop to this talus slope, like right there, like 300 foot to talus. Like you can just see it because the ridge kind of does this, you know. You kind of jimmy this way, jimmy that way. I'm like, yeah, that's a horrible broken death. Like,
Yeah.
And I'm like looking above me, and the crux I just came through, I gained some scale. I'm like, oh, that looks really fucking shitty. Like, I will not be able to come down that. And it gets worse. It's one of those that gets worse the further you go. Yeah. And I'm like, abort. It was one of those like, I'm abort mission. But I had made it just through this crux. So now I'm down climbing through this crux that was right on the edge. Holy shit, dude. It was like, I had my fucking backpack with the skis sticking down. They're all jitting in the drop, and I had to take the skis off. I remember this crux. And so this is Irie, you know, I already had like an 8-year-old. Irie's like 1. Oh, she was 1 even, right? And I literally had this vision. It was like a vision of her little head, her cute little baby head, like, Daddy, sort of thing. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing out here? As I'm in the middle of this crux, hanging on for dear life over the gnar, and I lowered my backpack to the boulder and propping it right there, like gently leaning it so I could jimmy next to it. It's just this maneuver, right? Like so close, and like, and I had to do it and again and again. And boom, you know, 5 minutes later you're out of it. Like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, this is so fucking stupid.
Not worth it.
Not worth it
at all.
I'm gonna make 3 shitty turns at the top, and then have to take my boots off and walk all the way out this goddamn like mountain again. Anyway, like, what am I doing? I could at least be at work, or I could at least be hanging out with my kid. I could at least be doing 100 other things, 1,000 other things.
1,000 other things. It's easy to recognize that.
I'm glad. I feel lucky to have.
Oh, it is. That's what makes you good, Dad.
Yeah. What are these other? Oh. Breonna Taylor.
Breonna Taylor? You want to get into that?
Pause. Okay, recording. Podcasts. Everyone seems to be doing them. It's seriously like
it's becoming like the mainstream thing now.
Well, Vezzo was asking. She's like, "Why are you, doing this? Why you do whatever you do? Fucking argue shit." And I'm just like, "Well, what did I say? Boredom." I gave an answer. It was boredom, entertainment, and curiosity. That's why. Yeah. Which is why I fucking argue people on Facebook. Just write that down. Boredom,
entertainment, curiosity.
That's why to like. Well, it is. It's like. Why you fucking sitting here bullshitting? But yeah, Breonna Taylor is interesting. So people are rioting right now.
Yeah, they are rioting. people are pissed about it.
Well,
I mean, it is. I mean, what do you know much about that case?
Oh, I know enough. They don't have a reason to be rioting.
You don't think so?
Well, so minor detail. Everyone's saying it was a no-knock warrant. No, the story is they busted through the door, shot her dead in bed.
Well, yeah, that was the narrative they're trying. It's not. I mean, they did knock for a little bit, and they
did knock. They knocked.
But they didn't say anything. They didn't say anything. I don't think they ever yelled out police.
Well, they said they did, and that's the discrepancy. They said they were yelling police.
They said
the guy said he didn't know who it was. And then the neighbors stuck their head out the room and were like, "What are you guys fucking doing?" You know, they're like, they heard the knocking, and they're like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "Go back to your thing." That's known. So they did knock. The guy didn't hear it. So as they opened the door. They decide, the judge said if they don't fucking answer, then you can bash the door in. So they bash the door in, and right as they bash it in, the dude comes and shoots the cop. The cop just gets shot from the dark hallway.
And they all just start shooting.
And the one just goes, blah, 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 blam, and shoots the girl, because they were coming down the hallway.
Well, he just fucking blindly fired into the thing.
So this last verdict, it wasn't murder or anything.
It was reckless endangerment for the neighbors.
Just for in general bullshit. Yes, because it's bad to just be shooting blindly.
Which it is. Departments aren't supposed to do that.
But it wasn't an indication of systemic racism. It was them going to do a raid on a dude that was a drug.
No, I don't believe it was racism. I believe it was a fuck up.
It was a pure fuck up.
It was a fuck up on everyone's end. It was just a bad...
Yeah, it was bad. It was horrible.
Set of circumstances that led to this poor lady.
But there are excuses now that riots are more, racism.
And they see that can never be the fuck... Like, I'm sorry, like, just because there's a fucked up shit that goes on out here in Kentucky, we don't need to light shit on fire in Seattle. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. And then...
Well, as they're like...
Well, the people that are
but we missed it. Oh, backtrack. Sorry, Seattle fires, forest fires. Remember Antifa started all the forest fires. That's like
That's actually not true.
I know.
That's actually not true.
I know. Some of them did.
Well, who the fuck
On
knows?
Monday of 2 weeks ago, 58 fires started
Really?
in Washington. Back when the fires were going, this was 2 weeks ago. 58 in one day, and they were like something like 20 of them were fucking known man started. Like
Jesus.
58 fires are not starting one day anyway.
No.
Because the riots, that's what happened. So get this, backtrack. Here's the right-wing narrative. The riots were happening in Portland. Trump came and deputized all the fucking local state police so that they could act with federal fucking jurisdiction.
Oh, yeah, because the DA in those places they weren't prosecuting it.
No, because they were all, they were being told to stand down. They were being told to stand down by the local liberal fucking Democrats.
Yeah.
Whatever. Trump said you guys can do your shit because the police actually want to do their job for the most part. They then cracked the shit down and it stopped. The riot stopped. The very next day, massive forest fires started. That's the theories. They got run out of the cities. They fucking went and started a bunch of fires. The fucking fire started. They're saying that's super ultra conspiracy to say that's even possible, but then they've caught like, dude, so many people caught for fucking arson, tons of them, but they're not reporting it. You're like, and there's like, no, they weren't activists, but some of them were specifically, blah blah blah. It's all conspiracy. That's the story. Fires. Then we get to, well, the combo, Breonna Taylor deal. People are funding Ruth Ginsburg dying, which is unfortunate. And their reaction, just the whole Supreme Court. So do you understand all that?
Yeah, I do. And, I thought it was funny. So, like, the president appoints people to the Supreme Court. They're in there for life, all that. But, I think it's funny. Like, so when Obama was in charge, like, and he had to appoint a justice, all the Republicans were giving him shit for pushing the Democratic justice in super quickly.
At the end of his second term.
Yeah, and now that the roles are reversed, Trump, there's another opening, he wants to get a conservative justice in there right away. Now, is that right or wrong? You can make arguments for either way, but I think it's funny, because, like, if the roles were flipped, if it was Joe Biden and Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
then what happened? Remember?
He would be...
Yeah.
He would be pushing to get someone in right away. So it's just like
Well, you heard how that's when Harry Reid pulled the nuclear option. The Republicans were stopping them from doing their thing. Harry Reid then made it so that it was passed. I don't know, it was a fucking amendment. But it's called the nuclear option, which was that you could pass a Supreme Court judge with a simple majority and not a 2/3 majority. So they changed the rules to fit them at the time to make it work for them because they were in charge at the time. Now, 10 years later, whatever years later, that same rule is now working for the Republicans. Like their rule they changed to suit themselves to come back and bite them in the butt. Exactly. What happened. A, that happened. B, it's still Trump. It's his job for 4 years. He's the president for 4 years. They call him a lame duck after January, after they've elected someone, or not after the election, till January. They call him a lame duck because he's on his way out.
But he's
not
still
even
president.
a lame duck yet. He's not even a lame duck yet. He's still a president now. He'll still be the president.
You're not a lame duck until you're out of office. Like, he's still the fucking...
Well, they say they're a lame duck after, if they've got voted out.
Well, yeah, but technically...
But he's still there.
Still has all the powers of the presidency.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's
but
not
then
like...
they try to play like some moral, like, and that's... Okay, so backtrack. Why don't they want him to appoint someone? Because they're worried they're going to appoint someone that he'll be on his side. Why do they worry about that? Because they're jamming up the fucking elections with the mail-in thing, which just yesterday, you see this thing, they found like 500,000 Trump ballots in the ditch.
Really?
Like just 2 hours ago or whatever, I was just reading it.
Christ.
Like, boom, Trump ballots in the ditch. They're already doing it. Basically, they're setting it up to fuck the election over. They've already prepared us for it, and then they've promised violence if they don't get what they want in the end. So if you don't have the Supreme Court, there's only 8 right now, 4 versus 4. If it comes to a draw, trying to decide the fucking bullshit, they can't figure out the bullshit because there's not a 9th person. And if they can't figure it out and it takes too long, guess who gets to be president? Pelosi. Like, that's the way it trickles down. So if they can fucking fuck it up, then drag it out, Pelosi's the president.
Jesus Christ.
So that's their plan.
Jesus.
But I'm a conspiracy nut for even saying it, but it's fucking just politics. So that's their plan. That's why it's his job to put someone in who's gonna, basically that's my prediction. We'll put that on the tape. This is my prediction. It's gonna be super contested bullshit. Then it's gonna come back to them ruling in his favor. Because he's probably gonna win in a landslide, is my guess. I bet he wins in a landslide.
Yeah.
Even if all these election ballots are missing, I bet he wins.
I think he will.
Because it's repeating what Nixon did. There was a bunch of riots post-Vietnam, bullshit, and then the regular people are like, fuck these riots. we want stability, security.
So then he got another turn.
So he got a huge fucking, like, he won by, like, the
No,
record.
they're shooting themselves in the foot.
They
These
are.
Democratic fucking mayors and governors and candidates that refuse to call out the violence and all. Like, I mean, there's a huge swath of this country that obviously we don't want racism and sexism, and we want everyone to have the same lot in life and all of that. But also at the same time, like we say, are not okay with just fucking anarchy and riots and so.
And they're like tied, and that's the general problem is they've has tied themselves and been hijacked by the hardcore progressive.
Yep.
As it's gone. So back to the intersectional critical race theory, you should go Wikipedia. Well, it's very confusing on purpose. The critical race theory is the whole thing. Trump made it illegal. They've been pushing. Basically, it's like diversity training. You're in a corporate job. You have a fucking big government job. Diversity training is when you go sit in some class for 1 day a month, and you're trained to be super ultra politically correct in all which ways about it. And it's a diversity training that comes out of critical race theory, which is a very flawed, it's very easily debunked philosophy, which basically emphasizes people's differences. It's insane. They're the ones that are trying to be like super friendly to everyone, but they're focusing on the division. I've had the conversation with this chick who was ultra liberal, whatever. I'm like, you're obsessing on the race. Like, your obsession, you have to be obsessed with, because her job, she's like not her job, she's like on a task force to search out racism and whatever in a small town, Alaska, in another town, Seward. She's on the task to find racism, and I always want to see her and be like, have you found any Nazis today? Like, have you captured any? Have you found any racists? Like, I'm a racist task force, which is a fucking one step away from the Gestapo.
Honestly,
like,
though,
it's insane to find out, like,
task force. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, it's a real thing.
I believe it.
So people like us are the bad guys because we're just like, oh, this is kind of weird. History's repeating itself. Hey guys, that's my take.
You're just like a little weird.
This is like, why are you doing this? I'm like, I kind of don't want to see the end of civilization. Like, trying to do my part.
See us all.
But they think we're the bad guys. It comes back to the paradigm shift. They're in like two different realities. Like, we're two different realities. It's like this now. Anyway, are we done?
I have very shitty eyesight. I can't drive when it's dark, so I'm getting a little low-key worried.
Uh-huh.
Is that all right?
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm done. I'm tired. All right, good job, team.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, as always.